Love it. Welcome, my friends. Welcome, welcome, welcome to the Krieg Dominion. I am Omar Krieg, and this is. Oh God, I've totally screwed up my notes. Like my notes have things updated, but then there's other parts that don't have them updated. This is episode 17 of season 2, second star, and it is entitled Weave. And at the time when I wrote this, I had a really cool idea, and I guess as I reviewed my notes, I didn't actually put all the cool ideas in there. So we're going to leave the name, and maybe people will figure it out. Meanwhile, joining me, of course, are my 3 friends from the internet. I have only 3 friends. No, that's not true. I have a few, but they're all from the internet. So, kind of like a mail order bride.
Or glass bottles.
Glass bottles. Okay. All right. Let's check in with them and see how things have been going for them in the last week since we last came together as a group. Charles, are you good to go, or do we want to skip you for a moment?
I think I'm good to go.
Okay.
I got things shut down that I need to shut down, so do what we can, right?
Alrighty. Well, in that case, Charles, please, what is new and exciting in your neck of the woods over the last week or so?
Well, as I said during the audio and visual testing, it's a Wednesday, but it feels like a Monday because it was just one of those days at work. Yep. So, other than that, nothing else is new. It's prepping. There's a holiday coming up soon, so it'll be interesting.
What holiday?
The 19th of February. Well, first off, there's Groundhog's Day coming up next week. So
that's not a real holiday.
Is that a holiday, or is that just a day we're gonna call a holiday from military experience?
That's a day.
It did get a movie.
It did get a movie. Okay.
Right.
All right. I'll let it stand on that alone.
Okay. I mean, that's probably. Well, and there's another cheesy little movie with the same people that did the Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer and Frosty the Snowman.
A
about Jack Frost
movie?
Yes, called
Groundhog Day.
No, yeah, called Jack Frost. It has a groundhog as a narrator, and it's like the hero Jack Frost has to save the world by Groundhog's Day, or he's forever turned into a real person.
I feel like this is definitely a movie I need to be in a different frame of mind in order to truly enjoy.
Oh, it's a kids movie, straight up. I mean,
so I definitely have to be higher drunk.
Yeah. And then the only one coming up soon is President's Day next month. So we were, as it happens, as we're sitting there talking about it at work. It's like, oh look, because we were talking about vacation days because last Monday was a holiday.
Yes.
And we're like, oh yeah, we got the next couple holidays, and there's nothing until Memorial Day.
Well, I mean, we've got there's a few things depending on where your God, I almost said allegiances, but that sounds so horrible when I phrase it like that.
Right, your beliefs are sitting, but we're like just talking about days off, authorized days off.
Yes, and if you do anything with the government, you've got one every month, basically, and then usually, like in my experience when I was in the military, we had one every month, and if there wasn't a holiday already, we just made a white space and said that's a holiday. We're taking the day off.
Yeah,
and we're gonna call it a training holiday.
Yeah. Here's a 3-day weekend, and everyone who's not gone by, you're working this weekend.
Yep, exactly. You got anything else?
Nope, I'm good.
Alrighty. Wiggles, what's new and exciting for you in your neck of the woods, my friend?
I almost stabbed myself with a sharp knife.
Please don't.
Yeah, no, that was exciting. I also had some bad food poisoning this week. That wasn't great.
Ew, that's horrid.
Oh yeah, no, it was.
That's nasty.
Wasn't great. My abdomen is still a little bit sore, but it's through with it though.
Well, I'm glad you're done with that.
Yeah, so am I.
I bet.
Yeah.
I should not be laughing, but I can imagine the relief of that one morning when you wake up, you're like, oh my god. I actually feel kind of like a normal human being.
Yeah, no, I woke up at like 3 in the morning, and then I was seriously nauseous for like 7 hours, and it finally happened, and then it was just kind of a shitty day for the rest of the day.
No pun intended. Or was it? I should not be making fun of you. I'm sorry. I feel like everybody gets food poisoning at least once in their life, and it is absolutely garbage. It's just a horrible, horrible feeling.
Yeah, and plus what most people call like a 24-hour flu or bug, that's just generally food poisoning.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you are on the better side of things coming out of it. Sure, within the next day or two,
no,
you'll
I'm
be perfectly fine.
yeah. So far, so good.
You got anything else?
No,
sorry.
that's it. We're making tacos, so we're instantly trying it out. So,
All right. Well, best of luck. If you need to step away, just try to give us a heads up before you go hurl somewhere. I'm
yeah.
sorry. I'm still making fun of you, and I'm just making jokes for the sake of making jokes. I'm not trying to pick on you. I promise. Wiggles is going to disconnect shortly.
Okay.
Yeah, Wiggles is going to disconnect shortly and say things like "fuck you" and leave the server. And damn, I broke my own rule. 5:55. Although I'm pretty sure I heard an F-bomb before that somewhere, but I could be wrong.
I nearly stabbed myself. That's fine. That's in the exemption clause.
Yeah, let me see if I can find that in the YouTube terms of service. No profanity before 7 minutes unless there's bodily harm inflicted upon oneself. I'm sure that's written
Right.
somewhere.
No, that's just common sense.
Yeah, no, exactly. I totally agree. Thurgor. What do you got for us today? What's new for you?
Well,
Yeah,
let me just say,
dying.
I don't know. My guts aren't dying right this second, so that's good.
It's always a bonus.
I could take Wiggle's story, take out food poisoning, put a few other words in there, and all the rest of the story and jokes be the same. But we're not going to go into that.
Ironically, I almost referenced you earlier today in Discord. For those that don't know, on the day of a show, whether it's this one or something for the GTL or as of yesterday, the Alien RPG campaign that just launched yesterday, by the way. The video went live this morning. You should check it out. Usually I ask a general, like a confirmation. Hey, are we good for tonight? And I got almost an immediate response from Wiggles. And then Charles piped in probably a couple hours later. And then when I saw it, I almost typed, but I stopped myself. I said, great, now where's my dental advisor?
Doing dentistry all freaking day long. Yes. Oh my gosh, today was a day.
My orthodontic advisor. Oh, man. Well, for you as well, my friend, I'm glad to hear that you are once more on the positive side of things. And hopefully it'll stay that way and maybe even get some answers in the near future.
Yeah, we still got some labs out and all that kind of stuff, but the worst thing that it could have been, it's not. So that's great. So
tooth cancer.
Yep.
God, don't say that, man. Jesus.
No, I mean that's what was first and foremost in my mind, because it's really hard to pick up on lab tests, and so all my labs were coming back normal, but yet I was having all these issues.
Tooth cancer's real? I was just making stuff up.
No, I seriously thought I probably had colon cancer because it runs in my family. And all my labs were coming back normal, but yet I was still having all these problems, and there had to be a reason for it, and they still don't know the reason for it. But I am going to see the gastroenterologist in March, which is the first time. He only comes around twice a month where I am, so or once every other month. So yeah, I'm going to get on their schedule in March, and I did some endocrine labs about some other stuff that's going on, and just hadn't heard back from that. So we'll see. Hopefully we can get it all straightened out. I am feeling better. I'm not gaining weight. In fact, I'm still losing weight slowly. So don't know what's up with all that, but I've lost over 55 pounds at this point.
Jesus.
That's a lot.
That is a huge amount. And that was probably, what, in the last 2 months, give or take?
That since probably the end of November, or probably November in its entirety.
2.5, give or take.
Yep.
Yeah.
Almost 3,
I guess over that amount of time, it's not a scary amount of weight to lose, because they say something as far as like healthy weight losses. I want to say like 4 to 8 pounds a week or something like that. Actually, that sounds a little high now that I think about it. Anyway, I'm not a doctor either, so please, for the love of God, don't listen to any numbers coming out of my mouth. But I do know that there is an acceptable amount of weight loss that is considered healthy and it's on a weekly time scale, and it's somewhere in the neighborhood of about 4 pounds, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
I could be a little bit off.
I'm only like 10 or so, maybe a little more pounds away from my high school weight. So that's not where a grown
when's
person should be.
when's your high school reunion?
I don't even know at this point. I think we've quit doing them because nobody wants to be reminded how old they are.
Yeah, I think my oh god, what is it this year? Actually, this year would be or will be, I'm sure. I believe our 30th anniversary or 30-year reunion for my graduating class, and I caught wind of a little bit about it, and I'm just like, I'm still not gonna go. Not because I don't want to be reminded how old I am, but because frankly, I think of all the I was in two different schools in high school. Actually, three because I graduated from a third, but that's immaterial. And in all of this time, I have barely talked to any of them for one reason or another. Like people I didn't like, maybe they didn't like me. I don't care. And I'm just like, no. The last time I had, I think our 20-year reunion, I was still in the Army, and the opportunity came, but I didn't have the leave that I wanted to take, or I was getting ready to get out of the Army, and therefore didn't want to use up a lot of extra leave time that I had because I wanted to save it for the end of my time. But yeah, no, it's actually 30 years this year is what will be. It's been 30 years since I graduated high school. I'll put it that way. Thurgood, you got anything else, or shall we resume?
Now let's get to it. My robots are hungry for some action.
I'm sure they are. God damn it. Fucking robots. I will say this. Did I talk about my car last week?
That's not a robot.
Yep.
No, my car is definitely not a robot. Go ahead. I think Charles was going to say something.
I was going to say, yeah, all you talked about was just that it quit on you.
Yeah,
and,
so...
it's a cruel, heartless person.
It's a bitch.
Yeah.
My car's been a good car to me since, for as long as I've had it, but it did, so the rear main seal, which connects the engine to the transmission, as I've had it explained to me, basically disintegrated, for all lack of a better way to put it. They broke it open. I shouldn't say broke it open. They separated the transmission and pulled it out, and they noticed that there was actually more damage, and this is after I had a roughly $1,500 estimate and started the process to go through the Army Emergency Relief, which is a really cool thing to have for those that have any sort of military benefits whatsoever. In that, because this is my only vehicle and my only way to get back and forth to work, I am qualified to receive funding to assist with repair costs.
Awesome.
It is awesome.
Oh, you don't.
Go ahead.
And you don't have to go into an Army base for it? They'll just do it at any facility, or?
I do have to go to an Army base, but fortunately for me, there's one about 20-ish minutes away.
Okay.
It's like literally I can get off the same exit I get off to go to work. I just go 1 mile further. So it's easy for me to get on and off and in and out. And I got the money and I started the work, and that was when they pulled it open, and I was like, yeah, it's gonna be another $400 or $500. I'm like, God damn it. But fortunately, I do have the money to handle that without going back and be like, yeah, I'm gonna need some more money from you guys. It is gonna put me behind a bit, but I can handle it. I'll be fine. I'll figure it out, and I'll recover.
Hey, there's no shame or embarrassment from using your benefits and whatnot. I mean, if the Army will cover it,
no, frankly, I am stoked to have that, because I would not have been able to get the repairs. I would have been totally screwed if otherwise. Like, I think I could have come up with. I would have been able to do roughly half of the initial estimate, but at anything beyond that, I don't think I would have been able to get without getting additional assistance from somewhere. And when I say assistance, this would have been like credit lines being extended to me, possibly taking out a loan, things of that nature. And all of that stuff, of course, will just put you further back in, especially in my case, where I'm almost effectively month to month or paycheck to paycheck, as far as my finances are concerned. So the fact that I even had roughly half of that initial estimate set aside in the first place is an accomplishment in and of itself. But I haven't heard anything new. They did have to order some more parts. They should have arrived today, but I haven't heard anything new yet. So, knock on wood. I'm not even sure if that's real wood, but whatever. I can get my car back by the end of the week. So, cool. And I can stop borrowing my super close, awesome friend of the family. I can stop borrowing his car every day to go to work. At any rate, let's get started. Previously, on Second Star, we see the Durandal being lifted from the surface of Grendel, placed into orbit, And then later we see it finally leave the frozen world and arrive in orbit around Beowulf and pulling into a dark dockyard slip for major repairs. We see Fritz Hellwig having a meeting with Captain Teresa Eppenheimer. And then we see a couple of clips of George Wyatt meeting with Roland Hartman, a former crew member of the FLS Wayfinder. And then lastly, we see Joseph Milligan accepting a small package, opening it, finding a watch inside, and then promptly, without much thought, grinding that watch into debris beneath his heel, right there on the concrete of the sidewalk upon which he stood when the package was delivered to his hands. No remorse, no regrets, no looking back. He broke his little gift. But there's reasons. And if you watch last episode, you'll know exactly why he did that. We open with a scene in what appears to be a local diner. The camera sitting at about eye level and looking kind of slowly, panning left and right through the diner. There's a bar to the left, extending and then receding into the distance, a register close up to the camera, followed by a bay of tables and booths on the right. Seated at the bar and enjoying a cup of coffee with the remnants of an omelet and hash browns clinging to the rim of a plate, we see a man with a row of tightly knit braids bound together at the crown of his head and then spilling loosely down past his shoulders. The sides and back of his head are clean shaven, and a wiry goatee adorns his chin, not unlike the one I have on my chin, except his is probably not as gray. Past the man, a display screen is made visible as the man sits back in his chair with an audible sigh, and the camera focuses briefly on the headline on that display: Manchurian forces in secret talks with the Empire of Mankind. As the muted reporter talks, a graphic appears on that screen showing a number of systems in the Manchurian arm, and several are marked red, pink, blue, or light blue, indicating recent actions. But our camera doesn't linger long here, for after a moment, it snaps back to the man finishing his breakfast. Found them, boss, a new person speaks, a woman appearing to be in mid-late 20s. And where are they going? The man with the braids replies. Can't be far, wherever it is, the woman speaks, reaching with two fingers towards a piece of omelet on the man's plate. That hand is quickly slapped back, a scowl on the man's face. My guess, Bettacomi via Kimanjano, but that's only a guess. You've said less intelligent things in the past, the man replies, smirking faintly. All right, just like the last one. Let's put a couple eyes on their berths, recall everyone that isn't outright needed in place, and let the Firehawk know to start prepping for departure. Yes, sir, Mr. Kalf. We then transition from there through, of course, a introduction or opening credits for our show. You know, we get quick little glimpses of our main characters and some of the support staff. And by support staff, of course, I mean, you know, people like Marshall Tran and Jarvis Tillman, among others. And then we come to the moment where on, let's say, Tuesday afternoon, the 25th of January, 2298, and I say that not because the date is on my screen, but because it is on the screen of every viewer in the universe watching this television show. And we are focused now on something of a conference room. You know, long table in the middle of the room, plenty of chairs about, maybe a couple of dry erase boards and a large wall-sized monitor on one end of the room. This is where our heroes have finally come together to discuss the events of our previous episode and all the different meetings and goings-on that everybody has separately had. But now they get to come together, share information, perhaps even, dare I say, come up with a plan. Gentlemen, the floor is yours, as is this conference room.
All right. So, Hellwig is going to just mention briefly that the people from Flex have made contact with him and have concerns about the shenanigans going on. And as he says that, he looks directly, locking eyes onto Milligan.
Paul Gray, I want to interject just for a quick second. Paul Gray.
Yeah.
If you can imagine, this is probably like a full team sit down meet kind of thing, right? And if you feel like somebody shouldn't be here, by all means, correct me. But I feel like Paul Gray is sitting there with a cup of not Starbucks coffee. You know, a la Game of Thrones episode something or other, the final season. And he sips on the coffee, and he just looks at you, Helwig, and then he looks over at your deadpan glare at Milligan. He kind of looks, and he's just a smirk on his face. He doesn't say this, but the look on his face is effectively, "What did you do this time?" But he continues because he doesn't want to interrupt, even though your GM totally interrupted.
Well,
Yeah.
I just put my front teeth together and smile real big. He's just looking at me.
Right. Anyhow, I'm not gonna mention that they're interested in some of the stuff that we've done, and they might be interested in us going on a couple missions towards. And he points back towards the TV that is showing the Manchurian Arm shenanigans.
Yeah,
there.
we could definitely throw that same info. In fact, let's just assume for the moment that this display, which you can also program or set to have show whatever you want. But let's just say, like, during normal business hours, it has the local version of, I don't know. I almost said Fox. That sounds ridiculous, but CNN or something on there.
Yeah, the 2300 version of a all news network.
Yeah, the human the HNN, the Human News Network.
Yeah.
Not to be confused with PNN. Oh God, no! Wait, that's Private News Network. Never mind.
that sounds horribly wrong, but funny.
No, I'm thinking like private gossip in the barracks, not other things that could start with P.
Yep.
But yeah, we've got that same clip is being played right now on the screen, almost as if to underscore what Helwig is trying to put out.
Yep. And not that they want us to work for them, but they want us to work for them. Seemed to be the jibe I got.
Milligan grunts.
And I then, at that point, I walk over to the fridge and grab a frozen hot dog and proceed to microwave it.
Oh my God, I am too easily amused. I heard that burrito be whispered. I don't even know if it registered I don't know if it registered in the stream, but somebody whispered right as he said frozen. They were like,
burrito. That was me. So I'll speak up. I mean, it's not my turn to go through my stuff, but I'm just going to say
this is an open discussion. I'm only interjecting to make fun of various things or try to be funny or point out that specific NPCs are here. So please, this meeting is truly yours.
Yeah, I say, why on earth would we partner with Flex again? Everything I've done since the incident and shouldering this bullseye upon myself has been for restitution for the entire crew that were very poorly mistreated. Flex did nothing for us but slander us, dismiss us as if we were criminals that just simply couldn't be charged. They've done nothing good for us up to this point. Why would we, what did she have to say that might have changed your mind?
All she did and mentioned was that we were railroaded. We had to be railroaded because no. The bosses were angry.
Jarvis Tillman's gonna pipe in real quick as he stands up and grabs a beer out of this magically appearing refrigerator that I didn't plan on being in the conference room. But he grabs a beer and he pops it open and he says, no. Actually, Mr. Milligan, I would love to hear what Mr. Helwig has to say.
Oh, I do too.
So she said that we had to be railroaded because the bosses on the board didn't want to look bad. And that they have weak background check system.
Yeah, we figure that out ourselves.
Right. and if you can imagine this, and he's in a suit holding this hot dog and just like using it as a pointer as he's going through these points.
It's still frozen, yeah? You haven't thrown it in the
It's still
microwave
frozen.
or anything, right?
I haven't thrown it in the microwave yet. Nope. I mean, the microwave's open and I put the time in. But anyhow,
you've got the plate, you've got the microwave. You just haven't actually committed yet.
Yep. And that really, it's be more along the lines of she along this arm operating outside of official recognition. Would that be the way to describe it? Yeah, official recognition.
So it wouldn't involve their admiralty?
Yeah, it wouldn't involve any of their real, but she'd pay us out of their funds, so they'd still be flex money coming to us, even if it is tainted.
I'm sorry. I mean, you guys should know by now how easily amused I am. So if you hear me laughing, just assume it's me and not a particular character unless I say otherwise.
Right.
Tillman is going to take his beer, by the way, and he's going to sit down, and he's basically, as he takes another drink in the process, once he gets settled back in a seat, he's going to look over at Milligan and be like, you know, I know you have that bullseye on you, but personally, fuck Flex.
Yep.
I just
at this
smile
point,
and nod.
at this point, I'm going to go throw, and I almost throw the hot dog into there and slam the door shut and hit the buttons.
You don't hit the button. You stab the buttons with your index finger.
Oh yeah. And I didn't say yes. I didn't say no. I just said I had to bring it back to you guys because last I knew we were a team. And yes.
So what are your personal feelings of it? You were there.
Oh, my personal feelings. He takes the hot dog back out. My
Charles, you're getting a little bit garbled. You may have to repeat what you just said.
Okay. I'm gonna say this.
It's getting worse. Hold on. Give him a moment, my friends. Give him a moment. Oh my God, 900 plus ping on Charles at the moment. While he's trying to figure out what he's saying, and let's just pretend for the moment that he's just uber frustrated as he's stabbing buttons on the microwave and waiting for it to nuke his hot dog. Paul Gray is sitting there and he's kind of watching this conversation, and he looks at everybody else on the table, and he kind of looks around and he's like, you know, it almost sounds like the way you're describing it, as if they drummed us out to make it look like they didn't want us, not for our benefit, not for their benefit, but for the benefit of anybody watching. As if it was just one big, I don't know. What's that thing where you have the ball under a clamshell and there's like 3 clamshells and you have to guess which one it is? Shell game, that's it. He actually snaps his fingers when he figures it out. And Paul Gray looks over at Hellwig almost as if he's looking for approval, because he's like, I can be intelligence guy too. But he doesn't say any of that. He just looks there.
So Hellwig looks over and says, so my personal feelings are that I think she knows that we got hosed over, want to make up for it, and sees value at the Flex, maybe, I don't know, to have people operating outside of the confines of the law. But she also mentioned a couple other things that were intriguing about our current patron. Right. And yeah, that he may be, and I put my hands up in the Dr. Evil style and air quote, a legitimate businessman society member.
Are you referring to when she said that he was part of the network?
Yes.
Okay.
So you're telling me that a billionaire is not a good person?
I'm just saying that yes, he's a billionaire, but he may have made it through.
There is no way to make that in a legitimately good person sense.
I'm just mentioning that he may have made his money through some extra special ways that when someone looks at it...
Yeah, I get it. I get it. He's a billionaire.
Yeah.
I think he's trying to imply that all billionaires have a certain element of evil. Some are more evil than others, but they are all, to some degree or other, tainted.
There's no moral means to get that stupidly rich.
Right. So anyhow, again, I see advantages here. I don't know all the disadvantages, but I see, like I said, I see some advantages and are things that we could consider taking on, especially getting another monetary source. And if our patron turns on us, having someone else help pay for things, especially when the ship is. Oh, and she mentioned that Flex is helping to pay for the repairs of the ship, so we may be back in debt with them.
At this point, I want to point this out really quick before anybody
shove the hot dog in my mouth.
Yeah, as Hellwig is like, and maybe we owe them because they're actually helping us by paying for our ship. As he jams all of that out, I want to point out that basically every NPC at this table, just one of those like, what kind of looks. Now I'm kind of being a little bit comical when I do that, but obviously just about everybody at the table, other than the player characters, are all like, the fuck did you just say? What? Wait a minute, what? With that bombshell right there.
Yeah, I just dropped my head and I'm staring at the floor now.
The Wyatts are here also. So I'm curious what Mr.
We're
and
making
Mrs.
a
Wyatts.
Sunday at the Sunday bar.
Is that what we're calling the conference room now? It's now officially known as the Sunday bar?
No. There's a fridge, there's beer, there's a Sunday bar.
Hey, a guy can get a beer during the middle of the workday and not be judged none the wiser, right?
Yeah, and yet I'm being judged for a Sunday bar and making a little bit of ice cream.
Oh, I thought you meant Sunday, the day of the week. I apologize. No,
Sunday
by
bar.
all means, please get your Sunday for your wife.
Yeah, it's got vanilla and chocolate and nuts and those little off-brand M&Ms and
like the little M&Ms that aren't actually M&Ms on the chocolate fudge brownies.
Yeah. The thing, yeah.
They're more candy than chocolate.
And two types of gummies though, so we got that going for us.
Oh, is it one big Sunday that you guys are gonna split?
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome. Yeah, I was gonna tell you right now, your wife is definitely looking at you like, you better get the bigger plate for both of us. And she doesn't watch you after that, but she definitely turns her attention back to the discussion at hand, and she's like, "Wait, so you're saying that Flex is assisting in the financing of the recovery and repair of our new ship?" Is that what
I
you're
like
saying,
to point
Charles?
out that I've been
Excuse
trying
me,
to screw
Fritz?
over any patron any chance I got, and none of y'all have been in for it.
What I would say is that yes, Flex is helping to pay for it, along with some other entities paying for boat to be recovered. Why? I don't know. All I know is that that's what she told me, and yeah, we're in debt.
Well, the why is to make us do work for them. That's pretty obvious.
What yeah.
You get finger guns from Mrs. Wyatt at this point, who is like, "Yep, that's exactly why."
Yeah, the other course is in the fact that, the billionaire patron, who's going to divide up the cost as much as possible, doesn't care who does it. Even though he knows how we feel about Flex, he still went to Flex in order to finance this ship, which really should tell you what he considers about us and our stance against them.
When you say that, I'm going to interject again, once more, some comedy, some story and plot elements. I have not given you guys a middleman, for lack of a better way to phrase it, but there is probably some sort of, personal assistant, major domo, a bib fortuna to Jabba the Hutt for Tankerson. I don't know. That was probably a very horrible example, but I digress. So I'm gonna have to create somebody, but whoever this person is, we'll call them James, and I'll come up with more details about this individual later. But we do have James, and he's probably dressed in something close to, a business suit-esque attire. Pokes his head into the conference room, sees that it's being used, catches that last part about the patron being a bad guy, or whatever exactly it was that Wiggles said that I've already forgotten, unfortunately, and says, what's going on here, gentlemen? ladies.
We're discussing our future based upon the current politics of the Durandal ship.
The time is 7:40.
Uh,
The politics of the Durandal ship. Probably none of my business. Please, continue, I suppose. And he'll kind of linger there for a moment. Not necessarily like specifically eavesdropping in a menacing sort of way, but more out of curiosity. But also probably safe to say that anything he hears is going to be reported.
Before you go, James.
Yes.
Because I didn't share my name.
I'm sorry.
Nothing. James. All right. Do you have an idea what our group's background is with Flex? Yes or no?
I am aware. Yes.
Fantastic. Do you think we would be excited to have any financing done with them?
I imagine there would be mixed reviews. He's very clearly playing the neutral ground here. He's picking up on some accusatory tones right now. I'm just gonna tell you that.
All right. Look, so we're discussing that, and I hope you can see why that is worth us discussing it. Does that make sense?
I could see why that would make perfect 100% clarity sense. And I apologize for interrupting. Please.
Yeah, no, if you want to stay around, that's fine. Whatever, If you hear something you're not supposed to, you
shed
don't.
some light on a few things as it regards to our mutual employer. If you have questions,
it is what he pays you for.
I'm here to assist as needed. Mostly him, but as needed. Do you have questions for me or Mr. Tankerson?
What is the network?
I'm sorry, what?
At that point,
you just totally blindsided him. He's just like, what? The network? Are you talking about the Oprah network? You're like,
oh yeah, no, and Hellwig just about goes, oh, and he's hit himself in the chest. He's choking.
So I just put my hand kind of palm up to Hellwig and then use my other hand to motion towards dude, like, take the stuff and give it to him,
Yeah.
Because he was the one that had the conversation.
No, he definitely is. He kind of gives you the what? The network. Never heard of it. Don't, the network. Never heard of them. Response. It does appear to be genuine. Like, he's like, what do you mean the network? Like, there's the Wi-Fi. Did you forget the password?
Actually, shit. Yeah. What is the Wi-Fi password?
I'll send you a text. I don't want to say it out loud.
Oh yeah. Okay. Cool. Thank you.
Wait. What? Text? No Wi-Fi.
I was using my personal data.
Uh-huh.
So I asked him to break down the finances of the repair of the Durandal. Who's paying for what?
He goes into a how do I phrase this? It's not a lengthy breakdown, but it is a fairly, like, all the numbers appear to add up, without going into like pulling out financial records and things of that nature. So the short version though is pulls out a spreadsheet in PowerPoint and a laser pointer. Yes. So he goes into some detail, but effectively what it amounts to is Flex is covering probably in the 15 to 18% of the total cost range. Relatively small, because the rest of it is much larger. A large portion is Tankerson and his own company-based assets. I think I gave his company an actual name, and I just don't remember it off the top of my head. So we'll just say Tankerson and Company. They are covering somewhere in the neighborhood of about 50 to 60% of the total cost. There is a loan that covers approximately 1/4 of the cost. There is some support from the University of Alicia, whatever. And then there's actually a small contribution, a one-time fee, or not fee, but a one-time donation from a, what's the word I'm looking for here? Let's say a military veterans group that can be tracked back to effectively the British Royal Military or Space Forces or whatever they're called.
Space T people.
The British variant of the space military.
So when he mentions Flex, I say why?
Hot sauce?
Why did we take money from Flex knowing what this entire group's history is with Flex? And why, if the ultimate goal is for us to pay off the rest of this ship and own it, would we want to give Flex a dime when they owe us millions
I
for
feel
what
like
they did to us?
with my understanding of your particular situation, you meaning the group as a whole, and not yours, Mr. Milligan, in particular. My understanding is, yes, that's a very valid question. I can understand why one might be upset. My understanding of what went down, and I'm not privy to all the details, I must warn you, is that Flex, I don't want to say Flex made this olive branch reach offer, uh, but it did seem that if there were undertones of such a thing, that's what I thought I had perceived. I did a lot of the assembling of the paperwork and filing and things of that nature, but the particulars, the details, the meetings, those I am not privy to.
So you're saying Flex doesn't want any return on investment?
I cannot answer that question honestly. Is the only answer I can
No,
give.
if it's an olive branch, that means it's a
Yeah.
gift that they don't want ROI.
I don't recall any conversations because obviously I was never there for quite a few of them. I have my fingers in many pies in the name of Mr. Tankerson, but I am not always in the meetings themselves. But I believe the understanding, as I understand it, was that Flex did feel a certain sort of way about how things went down, and that this was an effort on their part to smooth ruffled feathers. However, any sort of ROI on their part or any agreements made between them and Mr. Tankerson or Tankerson and Company, I am not aware of specifically without doing a little bit of research.
So whether or not that debt would have to be repaid by us to Flex is an important thing for us to know right now.
I
We need
will see what I can do and maybe get you some information by tomorrow.
And if this is the entirety of Flex and not some subgroup of Flex, if this includes their admiralty, for me to be specific, and this percentage of ownership that they now have in this ship is an olive branch or, won't have to be repaid, I would consider that fair restitution to the crew for what the admiralty did to the crew. But I would also like to see the admiralty publicly apologize to the crew and say that through further investigation, they discovered the true culprit and they are exonerating us of all claims made against us.
I can't convey. I mean, I guess I could always relay a message, but I'm just an assistant, so they can only have so much weight. And I certainly cannot influence another organization to do anything, let alone
I understand
make moves to the depth of which you're speaking. What I can do is speak to Mr. Tankerson and find out some more information regarding the particulars of any debts that may or may not be owed and what percentages of ownership may or may not be in place for various entities out there, no matter who they may be. I feel like perhaps this might be a better conversation for you and Mr. Tankerson, as you, and then he points over to George, as you and Mr. Wyatt have that direct line of contact. I can, of course, facilitate where needed, but perhaps this is a conversation best had between you and Mr. Tankerson.
All right. I mean that's fair.
I can arrange a meeting if you like.
He
pulls out a tablet and he starts looking for the nearest or soonest. Excuse me, the soonest open white space. To use a term from earlier. In fact, it looks like Mr. Tankerson is available tomorrow afternoon if you would like me to pencil anything in. He pulls out a stylus. He even goes so far as to dab the tip of the stylus on the tip of his tongue, which does absolutely nothing for a piece of plastic.
Would you all right, yeah. Oh, sorry. Sounds fantastic.
Okay.
Yes, definitely.
2:00 tomorrow afternoon then.
Cool. I just wanted to make sure to give you context for what you overheard. It's like...
Sure. I appreciate that, Mr. Wyatt. I would hate to think that perhaps I heard something and was actually 100% wrong in what I had heard. Because not that I would throw anybody under the proverbial bus, but As they say, loose lips can sink ships, and if you have the wrong information, it can be just as damning as the right information.
Yeah. No, I mean, we're not actually really having that much of a secret. I mean, it's a private conversation, but not a secret conversation.
Yes, and I do apologize for what it's worth for, I guess, barging in. I thought the conference room was open right now. I was actually trying to schedule something else. My apologies.
Yeah, no problem. So we'll do the meeting with him, and we'll ask about it because it's man, fuck Flex. I hope that's very understandable.
I think you hear Tillman. He just like finishes his beer, like with a little extra emphasis, thunks the bottom of the beer bottle onto the table. He's like, "Yeah, fuck Flex." Maybe not quite as exuberantly as I just did it, but he's definitely very vocal.
This is more than he's talked all season.
Yeah, like in 2 seasons.
Yeah.
Suddenly, it's like he's got a backbone.
Yep.
I wonder why. I mean,
He was always so mousy before.
well, he's just the steward. I shouldn't say just the steward. You know, the servants always get shit on, but they're the ones that do the most fucking work, you know?
Of course they do. He's the one that lets us keep breathing. He does life support, right?
Yeah,
Or he's
life
comms,
support
isn't
and food and,
he? Yeah.
you know,
No, he's
takes
important.
your dirty laundry and your bedding and, you know, tries to make things as comfortable as humanly possible for you while you're zooming through space in a tin can. Yeah. Respect your servants, damn it, and tip them. Anyway, now that let me put my soapbox away and get back to the show. What else is it? So at this point, just to be clear, James, what's the word I want to? I'm just gonna call him James the Major Domo until I find a better name for him.
He's
James
a handler.
the Fortuna. James Fortuna. Got it. His name is now James Fortuna. I should write that down.
Yeah,
You
but
better
we're-
hurry before it leaves your brain.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. That's the fucked up part.
I already wrote it down.
Well, there you go. Now I
It's
don't
gone.
have to. GM wins again, guys. GM wins again. So James does stick around for a brief moment, and he kind of closes with, "Is there anything else I can do for you before I resume my otherwise planned activities for this time period?" I don't think he would quite say it so robotically, but that is basically what he says.
I asked him, is he going to be the point of contact in establishing the mercenary contract for the crew?
Yes. Mr. Takerson did give me some papers. I am supposed to be, I believe, a opening filing process or some initial groundwork. We don't have all the paperwork together, but one of the things I am scheduling to do this, actually, and he takes a brief moment and looks at the time. He's like, actually, in about an hour, I'm supposed to be heading down to Aliceport. Oh God, what's the city magistrate? This probably sounds a bit British-ish. To inquire about such things. Was there anything in particular you needed information about?
It needs to cover the crew, it needs to cover the weaponry that we're going to put on the ship. I would like to expand that to better weaponry in the future. So, the mercenary
Some room
contract.
to grow, as the case may
Exactly.
be. Okay.
And,
you see him, by the way, as he's having this brief conversation about mercenary things, he has a file open on his tablet. And with his stylus, he is tapping, and maybe a little bit of scribbling every now and again as he's updating some notes in his calendar, as it were.
So I say, we're going to have to add some crew, I imagine. We've already added kind of 2 crew members. We're going to have 2 robots on the ship.
Oh,
yeah, we're going to have 2 robots on the ship.
He makes a face. It is not a pleasant face.
I said, so we need to make sure that Chip, and at this point I'm walking over to the door, and I open the door, and I yell Chip down the hallway when I was talking.
Is this the cat?
No, this is the other one.
What's the other one?
And the security robot.
Oh God!
I call him a security robot to be nice.
What does he look like for our viewers who have never caught wind of any of the robot shit we've talked? Other than there's a cat that can entertain itself with a laser.
Well, the cat can come too. That's Milo.
Oh God! You named him Milo.
Oh God!
Yeah. Oh yeah. So Chip, I envision Chip looking like that robot that was on that Korean base trash collectors, whatever the heck that show was called, that movie was called. They were like scavenging in orbit, and one of their crew is a robot. And so,
I
you
am
know,
not
he's
familiar with this show at all.
yeah, he's mostly human. You know, he's humanoid in shape and form and all that kind of stuff.
But he definitely
He
does not
doesn't
look
like
human, though, correct?
no, he does not look like a person. He's just humanoid. He has, you know, 2 eye sensors and a mouth slit and all that kind of stuff. And
So he looks
he
like
is
3PO, but like low budget.
no, he looks like 3PO with 4 inches of armor on.
He's a combat 3PO, is what I'm hearing.
Right. So
And now suddenly Chip almost makes sense from a
yep.
from an acronym sort of way.
Yeah, I've been trying to think of words to go with that. So and so, you know, Chip comes, he's got in his 2 hands a restraint carbine, like a sonic carbine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, he's
Um,
brandishing weapons, is what I'm
No,
hearing.
he's just holding it. He's not pointing at anybody. He's just at rest with it.
Oh, so these are
It's on
like
a pillow.
bolted in the ready to go any second position.
Kind of, yeah.
Okay, so they're not like holstered or anything, but for all intents and purposes, they
Oh,
are
it's a
being
carbine.
brandished, is what I'm hearing.
Well, he's not pointing at anybody.
Well, no, I'm sure he's got them at the low ready, but still,
Right.
James Fortuna is absolutely horrified. He is very slowly and discreetly and very professionally backpedaling right now. He's like,
I was like,
oh, look at that. I have to be somewhere else right 5 minutes ago.
so at this point, Milo's sitting in the doorway, swishing his tail around. And you can see the end of his tail is just slightly bigger than the rest of it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't open it. It does close. It's hidden kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but he is sitting right in the doorway, kind of blocking the way. So if he's going to exit the room, he's going to have to like
Oh no,
step around him or whatever.
He probably kind of bumps it ever so gently because like maybe his as he's backing up or whatever, like the very tip of his shoe catches the very edge of a paw or whatever, and he just looks down. He's like, "Oh my god, okay, all right, Mr. Milligan, please restrain your robots." I want to be sarcastic, and he says the word robots instead of robots. But I feel like maybe by 2300 that joke would have gone long ago.
So you got to keep up with the times, James. You got to keep up with the times and keep your people safe, and this is how we do it.
I am so unimpressed with artificial intelligence and all the things it could possibly do. When
you're unimpressed with Chip? Should we arrange for a demonstration somewhere?
Is it because you're worried?
You know, sounds great. He starts going like he is. You hear the words, and there is zero conviction behind it. He's like, "No, I'd love to, but I really gotta go. I need to be anywhere. I mean, somewhere else right now."
All right, see you later.
And he's gone. Once he gets out of like line of sight, he just—I'm not gonna say he bolts. You don't hear running footsteps, but you definitely hear the sound of somebody moving with a purpose. And that takes us back to the group as it is. I think there's a couple people in the NPCs that are a bit more skeptical or hesitant around these robotic additions. But Space Sweepers, you know what? Now, okay.
That's what it is.
I know the show you're talking about, Stormbender. Now that you mentioned the title, I know what was. I thought about watching it at one point, but I was like, nah. Because I believe, isn't it in Korean, but with English subtitles?
I don't remember.
I think that might have been the turnoff. I didn't want to hear a bunch of like.
But it was. It was fine. I loved it.
It sounded like an interesting movie. Don't get me wrong. I just don't remember if it was. I didn't feel like watching a movie in a foreign language at the time. I didn't feel like reading a foreign movie.
Right.
And so I never went back to it because I'm easily distracted. At any rate, we are now back to the original crew plus our NPCs, and now Chip and fucking Milo, who will give me robotic overlord nightmares now. Thank you. I guess it's better than the alien RPG nightmares. Please resume whatever conversations you feel are still pertinent at this point.
Yeah. So the guy we met at the hotel once, that you were in the bathroom once, Milligan.
Wow, that's not suggestive.
He showed up
I'm like,
again.
just to clarify, I was not in the bathroom with him. I was hiding in the bathroom, disassembling his weapon. I just say that for the whole group there.
Anyway, he came back. He's on planet. I gave him another 10 grand to help, facilitate this ongoing investigation that we have on the sideline.
Maybe we should ask him about the network. See if he knows anything about that. See if that's smoke that Flex is blowing to get us moving more towards their side, or if that's a real thing. But honestly, as far as that goes, we've made money under less than above board circumstances, and we didn't have a problem with it. So if he's doing that and we're part of it, that's the same thing we've been doing already, right?
I think Gray kind of peeks his head up or I shouldn't say peek his head up, but he definitely looks up at, and he's like, "You think Flex might be trying to sway us away from Tankerson?"
Well, if they have a job they want us to do, if they have a job they want us to do because we're expendable, way out in the Manchurian arm, but they know we're tied to Tankerson and he's going to have jobs for us to do here, they're going to have to make enough of an impression on us to drive halfway across known space or more to even get to where they're talking about.
Tran speaks up and he's just like, "Nah, that's fucking bullshit, man. Why would they have us? Why would they try to pull us from Tankerson just to make us go halfway across the galaxy?" He didn't say galaxy because obviously this tiny speck of human space is far insignificant compared to the galaxy. But I think he definitely is alluding to why would they have us go, of all people, go to the Manchurian Arm when they already have half a dozen ships in the Manchurian Arm and another half a dozen ships in the American Arm, which are both significantly closer to all the bullshit currently going on with the Empire of Mankind.
Well, as great inroads as the Empire of Mankind's evidently been making in Chinese space, and the Chinese Manchurian, sorry, and them being in talks with them, according to the news, I don't know that them having half a dozen ships in that arm makes a difference.
Flex is a Welland company.
Mm-hmm.
For lack of, okay, maybe they're not a company. This is Tran speaking, by the way. Maybe not necessarily a company, but as an organization, they are licensed or, I guess, accredited. I don't know if that's really the right word either. But they are a Welland company. My cat totally just clawed the tip of my toe, little bastard. I don't know. I already lost my train of thought. Thanks, cat. What the fuck was he trying to say? He was going to say.
We were talking about ship
I'm sorry.
numbers.
I totally
and me
spaced.
saying
I have totally lost it. I'm sorry. Please continue.
Yeah. Well, with the Empire of Mankind taking over as many systems or whatever as they claim they've done, they obviously have ships, and I doubt it's 6.
Okay, that's actually a fair point.
Right. Flex may not be anywhere close to being prepared to engage them, definitely not in mass.
Absolutely not.
So they
as
need
you
help.
Recall, and this is Tran speaking again. As you recall, we ran a couple simulators or simulations. None of Flex ships have anything more than a couple of missiles and a couple of laser pods and PDCs. They are not warships by any stretch.
Right.
But what do we got?
A warship sitting in a dock.
Without the war attached. All the war, it's a ship now. All the war has been literally pulled out of it.
But we could make those agreements with Flex. They might have enough pull to get us weapons if that's really what we want. But I don't know if I want weapons that bad.
Yeah, I think at this point,
Tim,
oh nope. Wait, give me one quick second, Wiggles.
Oh my God!
I'm sorry.
Fine.
It'll be fast. I promise. Tillman,
Jesus Christ!
Jarvis Tillman will at this point. He's kind of like you can see a certain air of frustration, maybe not a lot, but definitely a noticeable amount. And he gets up and he goes over to the refrigerator. He grabs another beer. He grabs a couple hot dogs, throws them in the nuke box, and he's like, "I don't really give a shit, fuck." And I cannot say this enough. I cannot stress this enough. Fuck Flex. They screwed us. They booted us for next to no reason. I'm with you. I'm with you, man. And he actually takes a quick second and lifts his beer bottle up in your general direction before going back to finishing making his couple of hot dogs.
I just give him a nod and a smile. So is it Randall?
Which Tran?
No, that NPC that Wyatt talked to. Is it Randall?
Oh, that was James. Yeah, James Fortuna. That's what we're calling him now.
No, not the handler.
Roland Hartman.
The guy
Sorry.
Roland. Okay, Roland. I'm like, what else did Roland have to say? Did he have any information for us at this time or what? Wyatt.
Fuck! What did he actually tell me? I forgot.
He was
Yours
too
is the
busy
only stuff
spooning
I didn't
ice
write
cream
down.
into his
Yeah.
mouth, and then his wife had to take a second to wipe some off the corner of his mouth. That's why he wasn't answering right away.
They're talking
Roland
to you,
Hartman.
honey.
Let me refer back to my notes just to make sure I get it right. Because
Yeah, I forgot. I'm dumb. I'm sorry.
No. We're all dumb. Especially
He was
me.
like, I have developed a particular set of skills. Like he became Batman or something was what he told me.
Yeah, he. Shit, let me find my.
You seen a Taken movie? I'm the Taken movie.
Meetings and shit. That sounds like the right section. Hartman. Let's see. First, he apologized or wanted to apologize for how things went down when you guys met the previous time. He went out to Vogelheim to attempt to acquire some information relating to what was ultimately his last tour of duty on the Wayfinder before he went AWOL, because Claude Bardine, the previous XO, was arrested for fraud. He was trying to clear his best friend's name. Ultimately, it didn't pan out. He didn't find the information he didn't want, he didn't find the information he wanted. More importantly, Bardine ended up committing suicide before he could be remanded to what was otherwise effectively a state prison on Terrain. Hartman is now feeling like getting rid of Briggs is probably like the biggest move he can make as far as any sort of retribution. But he also, I'm going to inject this now. He's probably feeling like maybe going for revenge is not necessarily the right thing. Let me finish my note review. Let's see.
It's not revenge. It's a shot of opportunity.
I mean, it still sounds like revenge, just wrapped in a different set of wrapping paper. Other than that, he's just trying to get more information and be available to share information as needed should the group decide to, I guess, participate in such exchange. Trying to establish another mutually beneficial line of information sharing, if that makes any sense, the way I'm mumbling through it. But yeah,
But did he have any
that was the
information?
other thing. He did say that for the most part, the Empire of Mankind seems to have receded from the French arm because of what's going on in the Manchurian arm. But there are still a couple active cells that he's aware of, and it is possible they may be up to something, or that something may happen in the near future.
So I snap my fingers at that point and like give him a finger gun. I'm like, I think Briggs is one of those close groups. And I explained the package that I got, and that couldn't possibly have come from the freaking Manchurian arm to us without
I'm
it
going
taking
to GM interject
months and
that
months.
watch.
Yeah?
I'm going to say this. It has been 6 months. When you got that watch, it was
Okay.
at least 3 months in, because I forget exactly when.
Okay.
I believe that was actually in October when you got the watch. I could be wrong. Regardless, even at 3 months, it is possible to have. It would be super, super short, but it is possible to have gone from Beowulf into the Manchurian arm, and then for Briggs to have sent that watch to you without even making it to where he was ultimately going. That I'm not going to tell you because GM. So
Right.
basically what I'm getting at is that watch, from the time it took, from the last time you saw Briggs in person to when you received that watch, it is conceivable that he could have sent it from the Manchurian arm, or he could have sent it from the French arm, to be totally fair and honest. But it is not, like, there was sufficient time that has transpired by the time you got it, that it is possible he could have sent it almost from anywhere. There's probably some areas that he couldn't have sent it from to get it that fast. Just for
that
clarity's sake.
and the not so veiled threat that they were coming for us.
Yes, that
you
your
know, that
time
was
was running out or something.
exactly. So I honestly think the best way for us to influence the empire of mankind is not to fly out to the Manchurian Arm and try to engage whatever size fleet of ships they might have. If there's fewer of them here, if we were going, and we're not prepared for this by any stretch of imagination, but if we were going to try to pursue, it would be definitely to our advantage to do that locally and not fly out there into an actual war zone.
I'm not really interested in going to the Manchurian Arm.
As much as I want to go see the song, no, not with all that going on.
I think the
I
last
am-
time the Wyatts were in the Manchurian Arm was about the time their ship was lost.
Hmm.
During the
right?
Pirate War.
Yeah,
The Pirate War.
yeah.
Yeah. I am worried Empire of Mankind might be outfitting Song, might be recruiting and outfitting their ships with stutter warps and stuff.
Those
I mean,
watching the
because-
stream would have
there's-
seen
there's
a
like-
small facial expression on my face for a brief second. We call that not really in-game foreshadowing.
Okay.
Watch the video tomorrow at this point. 106. You'll have missed it by that point. Anyway.
So Wyatt's going to bring up an NPC the GM probably forgot about.
Oh, really?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah.
Have you seen
my
my memory? I
ally.
probably have.
No, Wyatt has an ally that works for Flex, the Danny Day Stevens.
Yes, I do
Oh my
remember.
God.
Vaguely, but I do remember.
Yeah. So I'm gonna write him a message, going, hey, this is what's happening with me. We got the Durandal out. So it turns out that Flex is apparently co-sponsoring or financing the Durandal restoration. I was wondering if you knew anything about that, what they would expect out of us. And also, here's a weird thing. You know anything about like a covert or covert group called the Order?
The
network?
The network.
The network. And have you ever had any interactions with our a patron? Have you ever, if you have any thoughts on him or what you heard about him?
I'm taking notes. Bear with me. You're writing a message to, I believe you said Daniel Day Stevens. Is that the right name?
Yeah, he's my ally. We have a background for him written up.
Yeah. You're writing a message to him. Let him know that what's up with what the players have been up to. Asking about the network. I'm putting quotes on that. And then lastly, what was the last question? Oh,
Flex is financing the ship and what they expect out of it.
Yes. Flex and what
And
they want
and what he knows about our patron, if he's had interactions or any opinions about him.
And what does he know of Tankerson and his opinions on him? Got it. Okay. Just to reiterate, Wyatt writing a message to Daniel Day Stevens. Let him know what's up with what the players have been up to, asking about the network and Flex and what they want about the financing of the recovery of the Durandal, and what does he know of Tankerson and his opinions of him. Did I get everything?
I think that's all. That's all the questions I can ask him.
Okay, cool.
Can you solve this plot for us, NPC?
Here's the things we know. What the shit is my GM doing? Noted. Message sent. And probably like 20 minutes later, you get a, well, not 20, probably within a few minutes, you get a received receipt. Like a message has been delivered to the recipient. They haven't opened
Oh, he's
it yet.
close.
Well, I mean, oh, that's right. He probably, where exactly did he work?
He's part of the board of directors for Flex.
He's like admissions or something like that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he runs the logistics arm for Flex.
That's it. Okay, yeah, no,
yeah.
he'd probably be back on Alpha Centauri. I apologize. Yeah. Not Alpha Centauri. Terrain. Correct star. Wrong planet. Anyway, yeah. Okay, yeah. You'll get a. Actually, what you get in about 20 or 30 minutes is a receipt indicating that your message has been uploaded to the next batch of courier dispatches, so that sometime in the next 6 to 8 hours, it will that information will literally physically leave the Queen Alice star system and eventually make its way to the core where the
Yeah.
destination
So
is.
what? Like 3 weeks to hear back from again?
I'd have to look at the map, but somewhere in that 3 to 6 week range before they get it and then a message sent back. Maybe a little bit faster because Beowulf isn't that far down the arm, and it is going to the
Also,
core.
I probably would have paid any kind of like, I don't know, express.
Yeah. So he'll probably get it within about 3 weeks. We'll just say that about 3 weeks.
If express shipment exists, I would have ponied up.
Oh yeah, it would cost you a pretty penny though, but it is a small message, so probably not a lot overall.
I mean, if you want to, like, I don't know, I'll put down like a $5,000 cost and say that's express. I mean,
well, I mean, it's all like standard courier fees. I don't know what they are exactly, and I'm not going to look it up. But let's just say, for the sake of argument, your run of the mill correspondence would probably take about. Let me just look at this map real quick. Let me do some quick GM brain power here. Let's see. So assuming, let's just say 4 days from one system to the next. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that's 24 days. Probably at like almost the fastest courier speeds without being like strictly governmental. So we'll call it 3 days with express shipping. So yeah, it'll be about 18 days, which is about 2.5 weeks before the intended recipient receives an email.
Okay. So about 5 to 6 weeks for a reply. All right, that worked for me. As long as I have a rough timeline for that. Cool. Yeah, he might not know anything. You know, he might be unrelated to that, but like he might know something.
Yeah, I mean, it never hurts to ask. It's always the how it's asked or what the information you receive in return. What else do we want to discuss here as a big old fat happy family group?
Well, I talked to Tankerson.
Well, that meeting will be tomorrow at 2 p.m. i.e.,
No,
our next scene after this. Oh, you're telling them that you talked. I got you. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
My bad.
The previous day or whatever, I talked to Tankerson. So they went to their individual meetings. I went and I talked to Tankerson. I said, so Tankerson does have a job for us right now. He wants us to crew the Iron Jolly, which is the Therese, and take a cargo drop to Beta Canavicorum. He said it was a clean cargo. It's 25 tons, so he might have some extra room on the outgoing. His take is 35%. We'd be landing in the new African continent on BCV, and then transporting via ground by truck 10 hours away, delivering that cargo to its final destination. He did say on the way back, we feel free to pick up whatever we want to pick up. He's like, there is money in the ship account, but that's the Iron Jolly ship account. It's not really ours, so we shouldn't use it. He said that shouldn't be a problem for y'all with the payouts that you just got. Fuel and life support company will pay for. And y'all heard me talk to James a while ago about the Merck contract. I opened that up with Tankerson, and he had not started on it at that point, but it sounds like he was true to his word and is getting that going at this point.
Yes, that wasn't a shortcoming on Tankerson's part. It was a shortcoming on your GM who forgot because his face is swollen for a week.
So that job exists, and it leaves in 5 days, and we have until the end of next month, 2/29, to be back. Actually, it says 2/29 to early March, so he gave us a little bit of wiggle room.
Yeah. And to point out, in the year 2298, it will be a leap year. How that affects planets not Earth, I'm not sure. But the calendar still reflects that there's a leap year.
I thought they got rid of that. Whatever.
I mean, listen, Linda. I don't know what to tell you. I don't make these things up. I just know that, some planets spin faster or slower and revolve around its local star faster or slower than Earth. But on Earth, where all the important people in the 2300 universe are, there will be an extra day this year, and you're just going to have to fucking suck it up, boy.
That's just another day we get paid.
Yeah, I guess. It's an extra day to get through before payday. I don't know. Gray, Tillman, and Tran, they all, when you start talking about this mission involving this other ship, they all Basically point out pre-flight preparation type things relating to their particular stations. Tillman mentioning things like turning out beds and checking life support and food stocks, and then Gray wanting to make sure comms and sensors are, loaded with the current patches that may or may not be coming out, and that their various things are set up. And then Tran mentioned something about wanting to get a look at their navigation system so that he can be familiar with it, as well as start acquiring up-to-date navigation charts and data. These are terms that you, as Mr. Milligan, the pilot with cybernetics all over the place, would be well aware that the things he's talking about, you're like, oh yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Go ahead and get started, blah, 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 blah.
Right. If we're
these
going to
people,
accept this
by the way,
job,
these
we need
people,
to get on it.
Yeah, Gray, Tillman, and Tran specifically answered directly to you, Milligan, as you and Helwig answered directly to Mr. Wyatt. Oh, you also get Mrs. Wyatt because she's the engineer. Who I imagine at this point will be kind of coattailing a little bit on the other ones, be like, oh yeah, I should probably go and take a look at their engineering system and, check their shit out, because I'm sure it's leaking oil or some other bullshit. I don't know if she would actually say oil. It's probably got some other, like very slow radiation.
Oil.
Because, merchants of this sort aren't always the best at keeping their ship running. They, quick hacks and slap patches. So she's going to want to get in there and take a look at it as soon as she can.
So we really don't have a whole lot of time to decide which direction we want to go. If we're going to accept this job for Tankerson to stay, in his graces and his employ, it needs to be decided before we get up for this table so everybody can do the tasks that they need to do to get us off the ground in 5 days.
Yeah, because you do have that scheduled departure date time that is not negotiable.
1,200 hours, 130.98.
Yep, that's... And when now, to be fair, when I say not negotiable, it's fairly well locked in stone. You don't want to do anything to disrupt that because of, let's just say port fees and things of that nature.
Yep.
Obviously, weather and really weird situations like alien invasions can adjust that as needed, and people will just eat the loss. But generically speaking, you don't want to fuck with that daytime.
Yeah. And if we do bring cargo back, we need to take his take into account. We don't want to lose money.
Did I give you a number on that, by the way? I feel like I said 35.
You told me his take was 35%.
Okay, and that's 35% of the profits, to be clear.
Okay, yeah, all right, yeah, that makes sense.
Because taking 35% of a loss is not going to do his bank account a fucking thing.
Right. Okay.
In other words, you better be making profit, not because of him. That's how the motivation works, by the way. The more profit you make, the less he gets somehow, because percentages. I don't know the fuck anymore. I will
just need to know if it's a yes or not. Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was your?
I just need to know that it's a yes, so I can let him know that we're on it.
Your NPCs are more than happy to get back after it, because for the last 6 months, they've basically been doing, and this definitely goes for Helwig and his shooter crew, by the way, who are more than happy to do something other than going to the range every 2 or 3 days and listening to Helwig talk about his glory years as a cop, or whatever it is that Helwig would be boring them to death with in his old man.
Helwig.
When I was a young pup like you, I could shoot the hairs off of a horsefly's ass.
When I was a young man like you, I never went into space. Space is scary.
He probably does
basically. Yeah, he does. He does occasionally. And actually, what I would float just for the GM to have as a note would be thinking about trying to talk a couple of those guys into, like, how do you feel about starting our own PI business?
Ooh.
You can be Rick, you can be TC, and he pulls out a Great League bulk.
I know these references. Hold on. Where are you going with this, Charles? Help me out here. That sounds Miami Vice.
No.
No.
Howlin' Mad Murdoch. That's me.
No.
Nope. That's
No.
18.
Oh wait, no.
No.
That's right. No, I know who you're talking about now. Yeah.
Rick
Nope.
TC.
Let's see.
I need
yeah,
a
I know
little
who it
more.
is.
And I'm gonna, there's a major domo at the resort, at the house named Higgins.
Higgins.
Yeah.
Damn
And
it. Hold on. I'm trying to think. Hang on. No, it was just Magnum PI.
Yep.
There
Yeah,
we go. I apologize for my total lack of my own upbringing.
it's all
And
right.
we've already.
We won't hold.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say we're not gonna hold it against you
Higgins
much.
Higgins was to Magnum as Alfred is to the Batman.
Yep.
He was his butler.
Yep. And his adversary to a point.
Yeah, he didn't have a Magnum cave though. That sounds horrifying now that I said it out loud.
He had a guest cabin, whatever.
Yeah, sure. Anyway,
Yeah.
at any rate, yeah, no. In fact, I think when you mention PI, Spearman and Aiello, they do that. PI, what does that mean? Look at each other, and then one of them has a light bulb. We can even have, like in the TV show, an animated light bulb for comedic effect.
Right.
And then they're like, oh, we get to be cops. We get to be cops. Yes, we're up. Let's do it.
No. Not cops. We get to investigate crimes
We get to
and
be,
pass them off to the cops.
and then you see Spearman, and he just gets all sorts of giggly giddy, and he's like, get to be private. Dicks. And meanwhile, this whole time that these two knuckleheads are making their slow epiphanies, Blaine is just sitting there with a face, with her hand over her face, going, "Jesus fucking Christ! Do I really have to work with these two anymore? Do I really have to continue?" And then, of course, before you answer, you start to speak, and she's like, "Yes, I know. Burdens of command."
Yes, exactly. So I turn around and go, it's an option, and I look at I kind of stage whisper to her. I said, I like these two, but they're like a pair of rocks in a 60-watt world, so we need to help them along.
You're telling me. That's all she says. I think in fact, I think after a moment, she gets up and she stands underneath the air vent, and you see her pull out a pack of cigarettes and a small lighter. And I think she has gotten to the point at the moment where she's like, I don't care what the year 2298 says about people who smoke cigarettes. She lights that motherfucker up and blows it directly into the fan that blows, of course, the smoke back down on her. She's trying to be courteous of the fact that she's probably the only smoker in the room. And the fact that she's smoking inside. But she's like, yeah, fuck this. I'm definitely smoking. And it's not a normal, like, it's not a Marlboro or a Camel. It's probably like a Virginia Slim.
Right.
A little extra long than it needs to be, a little bit slimmer than it should. What is there anything else that the three of you plus your NPC supporting actors and actresses would like to discuss?
Not at this time for me.
All right.
I don't think so.
Okay. Tillman will point out a thing. And he says something along the lines, as he had mentioned previously, things about preparing the ship. And he does mention that, perhaps this has already been brought up at some point, but I think it's a topic that we need to explore more fully. I'm going to assume we're taking this job because Tankerson is effectively, and he points at Mr. Wyatt, and he's like, your boss, and you are his boss, and now he points at Milligan, who is my boss. So now that we have the chain of command clearly illustrated here, we're taking this job, I'm assuming.
No. There's no reason to upset Mr. Tankerson.
Exactly.
Not openly, anyway.
Yes, exactly. He's done an awful lot for us. Now, my understanding is we take this job, we need to get the ship ready. Do any of you happen to know the crew requirements for a Thurez courier such as the Iron Jolly?
5? 2?
I think Tillman hears you go 5, and he's just like has a thumb, and he's just like gradually pointing upward with it. Nope, you need more than 5.
I just go, oh no, space, and immediately start shoving another hot dog into my face and a beer.
I think when Blaine sees you do that, and she looks over at you as she blows out another mouthful of smoke into the fan that blows right back on her. She's like, I thought your therapy was going better than that.
It is, but it's still space.
You'll be fine. You'll be fine.
And I'm like,
is it 7?
Tillman is still sitting there going, it's a little bit more than that.
I'm gonna assume it's a lot.
So
12?
Tillman just starts grinning like this is actually kind of fun, but I'm going to end this bullshit now because we'll be here all day playing guess the crew number. You're looking at, let's see, 1, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12,
20,
14, 16, yeah, 20 by the book. Now,
Right.
I'm going to say this as the GM, but you can imagine Tillman is pointing these things out. And why Tillman is pointing it out and it's not somebody else, I'm not entirely sure. There
Right,
are
because he's our
certain...
steward.
Yeah, I feel like you, other than someone like the actual captain and other senior officers of the ship, I feel like the steward would probably have a better idea because of like life support and how it breaks down, who goes in what bunk and all that. But basically, it boils down to you have the captain and another bridge officer, and then you have 2 astrogators, 2 flight engineers, 2 pilots, 2 sensor techs, 2 reaction drive engineers, 2 stutter warp engineers, 2 power engineers, 2 life support techs, and 2 electronics techs. Now, some of those positions are certainly overlappable. I'm pretty sure overlappable is not a real word, but let's pretend it is. So when I put this list together, this is what I am looking at. Give me one sec. Is obviously Wyatt would fill in as the captain. The 2 astrogators and the 2 pilots both, or for those 4 positions, could probably be covered by Tran and Milligan, flip-flopping, doubling down, whatever the case might be. Flight engineers, I'm not exactly sure what a flight
I don't even
engineer
know what
is,
the heck. I don't either.
but anything engineering, and I listed like 4 different engineer types, so basically they were supposedly 8 engineers. Those would be covered by the 2. I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm gonna say, so a flight engineer in real life is somebody who basically would be in the cockpit or on the command deck, observing all the stuff from the engine room and reporting back on the status of the engines and things like this, while the actual engineers
The
are down in the
engineers are
engine room
doing the
all...
engineering in the engineering
Yes.
room. Yeah, no, and
Yes.
that makes sense. That makes sense. So yeah, you would have 2 additional people on the bridge filling this role, and I feel like Wyatt, although as the captain and having overall responsibility, would probably have to designate somebody else to do that, in addition to having the Mrs. Wyatt and probably at least 1, if not 2 or 3, of the shooters in the engineering bay room, whatever, as assistants in the engineering department or whatever. Because obviously your shooters need to do something while the ship is in transit because they're not going to be shooting anybody.
What happened to Reese?
I'm sorry?
I hope not.
What happened to Reese?
Reese?
Is he gonna join us, or is Tankerson gonna pick him up, or is that something I need to talk to Tankerson about, or what? I don't remember if he wanted to or not.
I remember you bringing it up, and I remember thinking to myself, we're gonna have to figure that one out. I wasn't opposed. I just forgot.
Okay.
So I think what we'll do is you can bring that up in the meeting with Tankerson tomorrow.
Okay.
Let's do that. And hopefully my brain will have a moment to figure out what I want to do. The other... So yeah, the pilots and astrogation, that'll be Tran and Milligan doubling down. Wyatt on the bridge, but no specific bridge officer designated, although we probably figure something like Helwig maybe could probably fill in. In addition, Helwig would be with Gray doing sensors and electronics techs stuff. I'm not sure why electronics techs is separate from sensor techs, unless it's in the part of engineering that does repair and maintenance. Not so much the engine stuff, but like everything else on the ship that might need work. So basic mechanics, I guess. And then the 2 life support techs, well, that's just going to be Tillman doubling down and working all waking hours to make sure everybody has got clean clothes and fed and life support's cool and water and all that stuff. So I'm going to, as the GM, basically hand wave that you can make this work with what you have. There won't be additional income as per the normal rules because it is your crew. You're already being paid by Tankerson on a monthly rate, as previously discussed. However, if you want to hire a few NPCs to cover in some spots where some of the coverage gets really low, like, for instance, all the engineers that you need, you can acquire some NPCs if you like.
Wait, doesn't Tankerson run a shipping corporation of
He
some
has a
shape?
single ship, and the crew
Oh, okay.
of the Iron Jolly is tasked with something else that he did not go into details with Milligan about. So every single person that is assigned to the Iron Jolly is doing something else. You guys are being slotted in as well, I need these guys to do something, and I need this pallet of 25 tons of shit to go somewhere. So, hey, look, it's my B team. You guys go make that ship do the thing.
Okay, so we are flying rubber dog.
No.
Toys.
It's effectively anything that you would find in a gift shop in any gift shop anywhere.
Oh no!
It's 25 tons of that.
Yeah, we need that.
So
ball
basically,
from a
think like
Durandal.
keychains, crystal globes, snow globes, pens and pencils, and
So all the stuff that attracts spearmint IAL. Okay,
yeah.
noted.
Big foam fingers, t-shirts, hoodies. Like, it's 25 tons of all sorts of shit.
Easy refrigerator magnets. Noted.
Yep. Oh yeah, magnets, gift cards, coffee
And
mugs.
for Wyatt, as far as us leaving to go to Beta Canum and Quorum, which I think is just a 2-jump trip.
It is a 2-jump, and your paperwork that you were given by Tankerson indicates that, like, you're. Let me see, how do I want to phrase this? Obviously, once you leave the surface of Beowulf, you can go do what you got to do to get there. But the listed flight plan is Kilimanjaro and then Beta Komi.
Yep.
Australia says
Beta
2300 Magic the Gathering cards, 2300 edition. I'm not
you
sure
told
if
me
you
we
find
were
those
going.
in a gift shop, but why not? All right, go ahead.
You told me we were going to Beta Canum and Quorum, not Beta Come.
Am I getting the two confused in vernacular usage here?
I mean, they're right there, one jump away from each other.
Nope, you're right. It is Beta Canum Venaticorum that I was intending. Okay. And I just said Beta Komi. I'm going to have to retcon the opening cutscene to Beta Canum Venaticorum, not Beta Komi Berenices.
I let Wyatt know that we should have a little over 37 tons of free cargo space on the ship as we're outgoing.
Ooh.
Yes.
So if he wants to work his magic,
I do have a handout for Mr. Wyatt. Let me get into the correct channel and then upload a file so he can get started on that at his leisure.
It do take me some time to do the math.
It's 37.21 is how many tons are available.
Yeah, let's just go with 37 because it's a nice I can do round about number.
0.21.
Handouts, that's what I want.
So how much money do you all want to kick into buying spec trade?
We'll see what you can find. Yeah, for sure. I'm up for maximizing our profits for sure.
I'm okay with that. Whatever you can find.
And just so we're not double dipping, my wife won't be contributing.
All right, whatever.
I pinged you, Wiggles. Obviously, the three of you can take a look at this as well if you want. Wiggles in particular. I pinged you in the handouts channel.
Do.
At your leisure, Actually, if you guys want to take a moment to figure that out, how much money you want to put up, so that Wiggles can figure out how much money he has to spend, you can do that. Again, this first major portion of tonight's episode was for you guys to hash things out and come up with a plan. And when you guys are ready, as a group or otherwise, we will then move to. Well, I guess we still have the question of who is. Obviously, I'm assuming everybody's going, all the PCs and the NPC crew, but also, are we going to hire additional personnel? If not, it's fine. You don't have to. I'm not going to impose too many extra penalties for spreading people too thin.
What the heck just happened?
I don't.
You
know,
got booted off a tabletop. I don't know.
Yeah, you did get disconnected. Steam P2P session fail.
I mean, I kind of feel a certain way about Reese and even Karina.
Mhm.
Their company is going down the tubes.
Like,
they're going to be
Yeah, I think 6 months
jobless
later, a
and-
lot of the litigation has progressed, and
yeah.
they're not quite jobless and homeless, but they
Right.
will be soon.
But if Tankerson will hire them, we could use the engineers, I'm sure.
Oh, they were pilots, to be clear.
Well, Reese was somewhat of an engineer because he was working on the thing
Yeah,
when
and
we
I'll
got
have to-
there. Yeah.
I'll have to look their stats up. I think there was
Yeah.
a full set of stats for them.
So
I'll look
yeah,
that
if
up
they've got some
offline.
other skills, I mean, they're at least good for damage control, or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yep.
And I don't know. I feel like Reese particularly went through a lot. He was forced to fly the Black Watch out there and all that. So I feel like we kind of owe him a little bit. So I don't mind getting him hired if that's what he wants to do.
So what's the posting DM thing?
You know what? That's a great question. I got to look at my notes. I don't know if I designated.
Is it 0? Is it
It's not zero. I will never make that easy for you. All right. So first off, you need an A+ for either A+ broker for finding a local broker, or admin A+ for doing it online. Which way are you going?
Oh, I'm gonna do it myself.
Okay. So
And I totally did it. I smashed that. I had a bookmark.
Let's see, and then I apparently did not designate.
1, 2.
There are a few other roles that need to be made, but not in those other roles I'm referring to are not trade related. So I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna roll a 1d3. The broker you work with has a +1 modifier.
Fantastic.
He's
I'm
not the
better than
best.
that.
He's kind of a young guy. Maybe he's only been doing brokery things for 5 or 6 years, so he doesn't know all the tricks and tricks of the trade. But
And
you
I'm
can
not
tell
gonna
he knows
teach
what he's
him.
talking about. He just doesn't know all the things. He doesn't know all the secrets.
1,
With the right
2,
people.
3, 4,
Yeah.
5, 6,
He knows how to get your cargo loaded up though, and how to facilitate all that. He's just not.
12.
That's what it is. He's not. He can make sure you get all the cargo you could possibly want. He's just not very good at finding the best cargo for you.
7, 8,
He's missing that particular portion of his
9,
trade set. For the rest of you, well,
10.
we'll hold off on the rest of that. What do you guys want to do regarding hiring additional NPC crew
12.
for this trip?
12.
There is no requirement to do so. There will be no
13,
crazy penalties. I may from time to time impose a -1 or something like that, but
15.
generically there won't be much in the way of penalties for this. You can make this work with what you have.
I won't be involved in that conversation. I'm busy.
Sure.
So
You're just gonna get a stack of paperwork later to approve various things that you'll just have to.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna start rubber stamping stuff probably.
I'm gonna look at Milligan and say, I mean, if you want me to put money up, I'll put money up. You just tell me how much you want, and I'll put some additional cash up.
You talking about Wyatt for the cargo?
No, well, or are we
I don't
buying
think-
extra?
Extra cargo when we leave?
No, hiring crew.
Oh,
True.
I mean,
Okay, so to be
we
clear,
don't hire the
my
crew
question
tankers.
is for hiring crew, but also Wyatt had question about extra money for cargo.
Right.
Like, or more accurately, how much money do you, the three main main PCs, want to contribute to the initial slush fund of buying speculative cargo to make a profit later?
Right.
I mean,
I definitely don't want to put it all down.
No, absolutely not. That's foolish.
yeah.
Coward.
Yeah.
You definitely could probably put like a few $100,000 down next to no
Yeah.
problem between
Right.
the three of you. That's your decision.
Yeah.
The other question, of course, is regarding hiring of NPCs.
But Tankerson would be doing the actual hiring and paying, not us, right?
No, this would be you guys because okay.
Oh.
So to be clear, you would be hiring additional personnel as you desire on a temporary for this run only basis.
Okay, that's not what I'm looking for. I'm looking to get Reese hired by Tankerson.
Correct.
I'm looking to
and
get
that
him
conversation
a
for
real
Reese
job.
and I believe her last name was Deacon, but regardless,
Karina.
for Reese and Karina, that conversation you and Tankerson will have during
Yeah.
your 2:00 sit
Okay.
down. For this particular mission, you are looking at hiring people for either the one jump to Kilimanjaro or both jumps to Beta whatever the hell it is at this point. I already fucked it up so many. Beta Canum. I see now that my notes have both repeatedly. Or as Australis calls it, interns.
I think we're good as far as having our bases covered. You know, those crew recommendations aren't because that's what's necessary to operate the ship. That's because everybody involved in the law of crewing and what's safe and everything else determine that. And militaries have a certain level. Civilian entities, if you're going to be transporting somebody else's cargo, not your own, or you're going to be carrying passengers, you know, you have to meet certain crew requirements. But that's what those numbers are those top end crew requirements, not what's absolutely necessary to run the ship. So I think we have the personnel. It's only going to stress us out if we get into some kind of extended situation, you know, and it's going to make some of us miss sleep cycles and that kind of stuff. But other than that, I don't see it being an issue. So unless we hit something
So
untoward on the way there.
Out of game context, what you guys would be looking at, if you go with, let's just say this, if you take you guys as the PCs and your NPC crew, that is your skeleton crew. Narratively, you guys will be missing some sleep. There may or may not be a -1 DM a couple times along the way. If you hire NPCs for this mission, that narrative stuff goes away. That -1 DM goes away. But beyond that, you know, you're just kind of filling in extra bodies so that you make sure everybody gets decent sleep effectively.
Right.
And that you're not spread too thin. And if things get weird, you know, you don't end up with extra rolls or whatever the case might be. There's no official, from my GM standpoint, there's no official requirement to acquire additional crew unless you want it for the sake of wanting, I guess. Miss sleep cycles. What I'm hearing is that you want to add alien stress dice system into the Traveler game. That's not a bad idea.
What? Who suggested that?
Australis. At any rate, I digress. You guys, please figure out what you want to do. I will say this. You can get up to a +4 DM from your NPC crew that you're, and let me be clear, the ones you're hiring. You would be looking, if you did go with a +4, you're looking at 5,000 for a single jump to Kilimanjaro or 7,500 to Beta Come and back.
We're on Beowulf, right?
Yes, you are on Beowulf. And that is the highest end with a +4 DM. Otherwise, you're looking at like +1 is 1,000 or 1,500, +2 is 1,500 or 2,000, etc. But again, no real requirement other than for narrative reasons. Effectively. Oh, Charles is back. He's gray for
I'm
some
back.
reason.
Yeah, something kicked me out.
There we go.
And
I think it's your connection. It's just not being very stable for TTS.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with us running it with a skeleton crew, especially as a trial kind of thing, you know, to see how we like it. That's a relatively short leg there and back, in the grand scheme of things, anyway.
Yeah, it's a month-long trip overall.
And granted, some planet's probably going to fall on us halfway through or something. Who knows? And we're going to need more people to clear the rubble. But
An entire empire made of people may fall on
Right.
you, apparently.
well, it's not going to matter at that point what our crew. That's just more people going to die. So I'm okay running a skeleton crew, at least as a trial thing. If we decide we don't like it, maybe we can hire some people at BCV and have them come back on the return trip with us or something.
Or even Kilimanjaro.
Yep.
That's your next stop over if you're like, yeah, fuck this shit.
Yep.
I'm stressed the fuck out and we're only one jump out. Jesus Christ.
Yep.
Give me new bodies. I need more coffee, more bodies. Anything else before we progress to the 2:00 meeting? And who is in that meeting with Mr. Tankerson?
Not me. I'm still busy.
You're going to spend the rest of today and the next day doing brokery things. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's what you're hearing.
I'll go.
Okay. And you'll have your rubber stamp in hand. Got it. All right, so we have a meeting with Fritz Hellwig and fellow team lead type person Joseph Milligan. And your scheduled meeting is for 2:00 in the afternoon, ironically enough, in this same conference room that you were in previously. And at 2:05, Tankerson has yet to appear, and you have not received any notification as to what's holding him up. And then at 14:10, the same thing. At 14:12, Tankerson comes in, takes off his business coat, his I am not a tailor. I will never pretend to be. But you know when someone's wearing a business suit, that jacket that they take off, and then you see like suspenders or whatever the fuck underneath. I'm not thinking like tuxedo, but like whatever his jacket is, he takes it off, slaps it on the back of a seat, not even really caring what it looks like, and he's like, "Gentlemen, I apologize. That meeting took far too long, and there was too many emails that should have been generated from that meeting. I apologize. Give me 2 seconds. I need something with more kick than caffeine." And he goes over to the refrigerator. He pulls out, he looks around real quick, pulls out 3 bottles of beer and brings them over to the table, sets them down, goes back to the refrigerator, and then grabs both of you a beer. And comes back to the desk, or the table, and sits down, pops the first beer, drinks down like the neck, and then some, before he sets it down. And then he politely,
Cool.
like he'll burp into his hand and be like, "Excuse me, I apologize. I really needed that. What can I do you for?" James said you guys needed some of my time.
I look over at Milligan and go, "It's your show."
I'm like, well, go ahead and start with what you've picked up.
The beer? I picked up the beer. I'm sorry. Am I missing something?
And where it came from? Yeah.
The beer came from the refrigerator.
No. I'm talking to Hellwig.
Oh. Okay. All right. So, big question amongst us. I happened to run across one of the old people from Flex. They had concerns. They mentioned something about that Flex is helping to pay for recovery of the ship and pay for everything else. I thought this was a British or a French or something, and it was you. And we're just kind of concerned because we left Flex on not so nice
savory terms.
Yes,
that's what we call it in the business world. He takes a drink from his beer again, and now he pulls out one. It almost looks comically large cigar, but it's just I know cigars have different size classifications. I don't know what any of them are, but let's just say king-sized cigar, and then a little clipper deal. Where you cut the ends of the cigar off, and he does that as he answers, and he says, "Yes, no, I totally get where you're coming from. Your separation from Flex was less than ideal, granted. I was approached by someone from the French Armed Squadron's operations office with a not small number of Libra being offered to fund some of the recovery and retrofitting and repair. And I'll be frank, I took it. This has become a very expensive project. Not that I can't handle it, and not that I'm going to levy an unnecessary or unfair portion of the tab on you guys. And he'll take a moment and pull out a lighter and light the cigar, puff on it a few times to make sure it catches. But I felt the need to unruffle feathers amongst Flex, and when he says that particular portion of his answer, he's looking directly at Milligan.
Mm-hmm.
Because right or wrong, certain things were stated and certain things were claimed. Milligan, I want to be clear when I say this, I'm on your side. But from certain business perspectives, getting Flex to, as they say, calm the shit down, sometimes we need to make certain overtures.
So I turn to Hellwig. I say, drop the other shoe.
I,
I-
as the GM, have forgotten the shoes, so I'm curious which one this is. I know there are several shoes in the pile. I just don't remember which one this is.
So many shoes. We're gonna call this a sabotage.
Oh, nice. Nice.
I look over at Milligan with an arched eyebrow, trying to maintain my best poker face.
Poker face. Poker face.
Yeah, that almost stone, gargoyle level, and I go, so the financing for this entity, and I kind of wave my hands all around it. We were presented with documentation that it was less than legitimate. Or it was legitimate, but unsavory. Let's just call it blood money for what it is. That's the way it was described to us.
I think you
by
see
somebody
Tankerson for a
else.
brief moment has a look of slight confusion. He also has a poker face as a, experienced businessman.
Right. And we all take classes from Lady Gaga.
Yeah, exactly. He just looks at you, Hellwig, and he's like, spit it out, son.
Yep.
Let's just put the cards on the table. What are you trying to say here?
All the details and where they came from.
And again, I kind of look at Milligan with a head cocked and that eyes like, and all right, fine. So I turn and I pantomime like on the table as I'm placing the cards down. And I go,
he's actually doing the hand. You got your emoji, or what do they call that in video games? Your emoticon? That's not the right word. What's the word?
Yeah.
That animation.
Yes.
Emote.
Yes.
That's it.
Emo. Yeah. So I basically emo. Okay, card 1. Flex is financing this. Card 2. Something about the organization.
The network. Is that what you're trying to say?
The network. Yeah, the network. Yeah, the network.
These vague names for shadowy groups of people.
Your involvement with said network. Your money came from the network. It may or may not be tied to, again, I'm going to air quote, legitimate businessmen associates.
She did tell you. Okay, so real quick, out of character, she did tell you something about blood diamonds or something about diamond smuggling ring, a la the Iran-Contra affair.
Yes, exactly.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I remember now. Sometimes I forget shit and I don't reference my own notes enough. So.
Right.
Okay.
So and it's along the lines of like, oh look, you were involved and then you reported on it after you got your cut. So again, we're concerned, as you referenced, our associate, and I shake a thumb over in a bottle, or I throw my bottle base at Milligan as I'm holding it, like kind of like that toss and point type of thing.
Yeah.
Of being set up again. Here we have a
I'm gonna
decent
stop you
thing
there,
going.
Elwick. I feel like I may need to answer a few questions and be honest with you. there's a few things I've been holding very close to my chest about my history, involvement of both myself with others and others' involvement with me. And he takes a moment and he puffs a couple times on his cigar, almost as if he's trying to figure out how to put words together so that they're not complete jumbles. Not because I,
Right.
the GM, do this, but because he
No,
needs
no,
a
no.
second. He's had a day
Yeah.
as well.
He's taking his time so that we can lower the difficulty when he lies to us.
Yes, let's go with that. He's taking his time so he can reduce the difficulty from a 10 to an 8. And this is what he goes with. I'll be honest. Flex has paid some of the money. In the grand scheme of things, it is a low percentage, roughly 15%, without a stake in ownership. They wanted to make a noticeable impact, but don't have enough funds to make a tremendous impact in the overall price tag. And they certainly didn't want you guys to feel as though you owe them. This is part of the reason why I didn't really say much about it, among a few other reasons. Mostly that I am up to my eyeballs in closing a few deals across the French arm. The network. I feel like that's a rather large bomb that was dropped in your lap. And I'm not going to tell you all the details. I will say this. The network is a group of various people across human space that trade information. Sometimes this bartering of information is not entirely legal, but it is not a criminal enterprise in the way that certain businesses from a certain southern European country may otherwise make themselves out to be, if that makes any sense and if you catch my drift. But it is a group of people who collect and share information, usually to assist in the execution of business deals and things of that nature. To call it an intelligence gathering and monitoring network would be perhaps certain three-lettered governmental agencies of an investigatory nature. Perhaps that's what they would call it if they were so inclined. Am I part of the network? Do I pass information along to quote-unquote peers of my kind? Yes. Have I acted on some of the information that has fallen in my lap? Yes. Did I join the network out of some sort of loyalty to any particular organizations? No. I joined the network initially to acquire information during my time as a journalist. And some of that information did indeed lead me to random Manchurian arms system, because I can't remember all my notes that are not in front of me at this point. That did involve various diamonds and certain kidnapping rings and certain organizations attempting to raise additional funds for their, well, to be frank, terroristic enterprises. And I blew the lid wide open on that one as soon as I had sufficient information to produce an article, and I was rewarded by awards of journalistic nature and some cash compensation. My involvement with the network should not be perceived as some clandestine boogeyman, anti-disestablishmentarianism, got it out on the first try, organization. I'm not here to overthrow.
I raise a finger while he's saying this, but go ahead.
Yes. I'm not here to overthrow mankind. Information must flow, unlike a certain spice in a different universe. Milligan, I feel like you... I was waiting for someone to catch that one.
Yeah.
And not that it was a terribly difficult one to catch. Milligan, I think you want to say something here?
Yeah. So you're well aware of our situation, relationship, lack thereof, whatever with Lex.
Yeah.
But do you not find it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Do you
if
not
you turn around,
find
I
it?
can point to you where exactly the bullseye is on your back right now.
Yeah. That's my new nickname is Bullseye from this point on. So
Codename Bullseye.
Right. Do you not think it's extremely odd that on one hand Flex is donating 15% of this recovery, And on the other hand, when they send a representative to us, they're almost slandering you. I personally think it's because they want us to go to the Manchurian Arm to work for them. And I don't think that's on anybody's wish list in our crew.
Tankerson
but
will take
you
a
know,
puff of his cigar
Yeah.
and then look you. I don't want when I say dead in the eye, I don't mean that he's trying to do this in an intimidating sort of way. It's more of an attempt to establish a connection with you in this moment and ask a point direct question to get an honest answer. Like there's no intimidation intended. But he definitely locks eyes with you and he says, "Do you want to go to the Manchurian Arm? Is that something you really want to do?"
not particularly. We are not prepared for that. If what's going on out there is what it seems, there is an entire fleet of EOM ships out there taking over entire systems, have the Sung world blockaded or whatever. We're
That
not.
is
The
exactly
Durandal
what is
cannot.
going on, by
Yeah,
the way.
yeah.
If you
So
haven't noticed, that
yeah,
information comes via the network. And to be totally clear, there is a certain element of sarcasm when he says that, but it's meant in good nature and kind of poking fun at the suspicious light that Flex is attempting to cast on him right now.
right. Well, that just proves to me Flex can't really be trusted because they give you money to help you restore this ship. But then when one of our members has a meeting with them, they're almost slandering you, trying to turn us against you. And I think it's because they really want us to believe that they ousted us so that we would be available later for something they wanted to do. Well, they could have told us that during the process and they did not. They could have told us that after the process and they did not. But here we have a gift of whatever millions of livre, and then they come in and talk smack about you. So I
Did
just
they
want you
talk
to be
smack
aware that
about
that's
me?
what's going on in the background there.
He looks
I
over
don't
at
know if they
Elwig
was.
and he says, "Did they actually talk shit about me?" And he puffs on his cigar as if he's ready to like start planning for war.
I don't think it was so much talk shit, but it was very much like, do
Kick
you
Elwig under the table.
know? Do
Elwig,
you
Red Primrose.
know?
No, smooth over.
Do you know who you're working for? Type of thing.
Okay.
Like,
Okay.
I mean, the person we talked to. She was really like, told us we were railroaded, and I've been in a situation where I was railroaded before, and I was uncomfortable, and and again I point directly over to so and so.
Codename
And
Bullseye so and so.
Bullseye.
yeah, and I go, contrary to what he wants to believe, it isn't fun, but sometimes you just gotta lick your wounds and go away. But you need to understand that I feel like the information was actionable and useful, but I don't know if it was good.
I
And I
think
don't know what
Flex
to
is
trust
trying
anymore.
to muddy water that doesn't need to be muddied.
And I'm
And I
nodding.
say that not because Flex is acting antagonistically, but perhaps because they don't see the whole picture and they are acting on what they know. So not necessarily through their own faults, but because their picture is unclear, they're just making it worse. That's what
And
I
I keep
think.
nodding.
That is what I think. And I think Flex needs to perhaps calm down and figure things out a little bit more thoroughly before executing or acting. However, Flex has been around for 50, 80 years and they will just do what they do. They're virtually a government agency in and of themselves, non-government as they profess to be. That said, we, as in my company, which contains you, have an opportunity to do perhaps some good, or maybe just do good, clean, honest work. That has always been my goal insofar as the company is concerned. When it comes to the network, when I find interesting information to pass along, I pass it along. When I find information come to me from the network, I act on it as I see fit. I don't know if Flex is attempting to paint me as some sort of super spy. I am not a super spy of any sort. And I am certainly not an information broker, on the scale of which one might find in a novel or other sci-fi video game. What I am is a businessman trying to get by, and every now and again, I have something land in my lap that may or may not turn out to be useful. I hope that
Okay.
helps clear things up a little
Yeah.
bit.
Do you have any plans on bringing this conversation up to your Flex contacts?
I'm sorry,
Because
I was reading something and I did not listen. One more time,
I asked
please.
him if he plans to be actionable and take what we've told him here today that the Flex representative said to us, kind of trying to cast aspersions upon him, because we're not the only people that Flex has treated this way. Even on that same ship, the XO that was there before I got there was dismissed and imprisoned for charges that another crew member says he was definitely not guilty of. We've been in contact with that other crewman who is doing his best to investigate all of this and
Who is
prove.
this?
I didn't catch his last name a while ago. It's Claude. He was the ex.
Oh, Claude
XO.
Bardeen was the XO.
Yeah, Bardeen. Okay.
Roland something or other.
Roland Hartman
And
was the
Roland
former
is the other
member,
crew
best
member,
friend
right?
of the former XO.
Yeah. So I want to ask. It's a big ask, I understand, because it has political ramifications and possibly monetary ramifications, everything else. But this man is potentially imprisoned just because Flex wanted him out of the way, and probably, if I had to guess, it's because Briggs wanted him out of the way, because maybe he was catching on to
Are you
Briggs.
suggesting that Briggs and Flex are hand in hand?
I am not.
Okay.
We
It sounded
have
like you
chalked
did for
that
a
up.
moment. I wanted to be clear. I'm sorry.
No, we have chalked Briggs's.
Briggs is definitely Empire of Mankind. That's
Right.
what I'm saying.
Right. He got into the company, but then again, there was also an ex-pirate on our ship that we found out about later. Some people may have known before that.
Huckleberry, I believe, was the name.
Yeah. So we chalked it up to them having extremely poor background check skills. But a corporation that big and that old should not.
Perhaps it wasn't so much poor background checks as it was someone who was aware of potential problems, but was in a position to overlook or cast shadows to block the sight, or some other way to explain that. Maybe some people were making choices, and maybe their admissions process is faulty. Maybe there are plants even within the admissions process. Who knows? We haven't figured out exactly how the Empire of Mankind has penetrated so many different agencies across human space, but apparently they have as well.
I tell you, Briggs has reached out and threatened me personally recently, and I explained to him
really?
about the letter. Yeah, I explained to him about the letter and the watch, and how he said it's coming soon, and all that other kind of stuff.
Why would he send you a watch?
Because I bought him a watch, being nice, before I understood what all was going on. Because he kept looking at his wrist.
Say dumbass right there as fucking Tankerson, until I realized that Tankerson probably be like, "That was really thoughtful of you. Why would I call you a dumbass for that?"
So, he kept looking at his arm like he had a watch on, and he didn't have a watch on. So I bought him a watch, and honestly, we were slightly suspicious at that point already, and I thought about bugging it, but he had so much anti-bug stuff in his office, which also raised my eyebrows, that I decided that might get me killed or fired or whatever. So I did not, and I just gave him the watch. I
acknowledged that at one point as the GM, that he literally had a cone of silence device in his room or in his office.
Clicking on every time we go in there. So
well, I mean, it looked like he was just clicking things, but So Tankerson, again, he kind of reiterates a little bit, like, yeah, obviously Briggs is, the bad guy. Maybe not the bad guy, but certainly a bad guy.
But if Roland
Hartman was the best friend of the former XO.
If Roland could present you with enough evidence that you think this man is innocent, could you put pressure on Flex to have his charges dropped and released from prison? Because he does not deserve, according to Roland anyway, to be where he is. And if Roland can prove that and provide that proof to you, would you be willing to be actionable upon that with Flex
and try to get him released? As the GM.
Okay.
Before I answer the question as Tankerson.
Okay.
And I apologize if I seem overly sarcastic. It's just because I'm so easily amused. I promise you. Did Wyatt explain the part where Claude Bardeen, the former XO, killed himself?
No, I wasn't aware of that.
Yes, he did.
I
Yes,
thought you just said he was in
remember that.
prison.
He was in prison, and he was about to be remanded to effectively a state prison, but he killed himself somewhere along the way.
No, I didn't know
And
that.
that was part of why Roland Hartman had more or less failed in his initial or in his attempt to gather exonerating evidence, because he couldn't get the evidence, couldn't get whatever he was looking for in time to save his friend, who during the process of waiting for somebody to save him, for lack of a better way to phrase it, offed himself before he went to state prison.
Okay.
And so
Never
Bardeen
mind.
was like, well, or not Bardeen, but Hartman was like, well, that was a waste of trip and time and money. And meanwhile, Bardeen's like, well, that didn't get me anywhere, and it's just getting worse. So.
Okay. Yeah. To my knowledge, he was still in prison. I did not.
No, I wanted to clarify that because I thought Wiggles had said something about that, because I know I told him that. On that note, so Milligan would have known that Bardeen is dead and therefore would not have asked that last question.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Yep. And so I asked him, I'm like, the employees at Barrier Space,
Barrier Aerospace, or whatever the fucking name. I know who you're talking about.
Right.
Yeah.
Not having to, they were very good to us and reasonably skilled. I imagine at this point their jobs are in jeopardy if they haven't already been released. Would you consider them for positions in your organization if they were willing?
Yes. Give me 1 quick second. I need to talk to my son real fast. Hold on 1 second, please. Sorry.
Oh, sure. Be a dad. Hey, let's talk shit about Krieg while he's gone.
I heard that. Talk shit about me while I'm gone? Fuck you. I'm kidding. Wiggles, I love you, man. Don't take what I say too much to heart, because usually I'm trying to be funny and probably failing. Back on track.
Can you go away so I can talk shit about you? Goddamn.
Tankerson is asked the question of whether or not he will consider Reese and Karina, which I believe it's Zunwei Reese or Reese Zunwei and Karina Deacon are their names. But ultimately, will he consider hiring them? And the answer to that is, let me see what I can find out. Would you be willing to take them on as part of your team, your crew, or are you looking for them to be hired wherever they could be useful within my organization?
Honestly, I just want to help them out. So wherever they would be useful in their organization, they're both pilots. They both also have some other skills, some engineering skills and that kind of stuff that could also be useful. But as pilots, that's 2 more people that could fly 2 more ships for you. Granted, you may not have them right now or whatever.
Oh,
but
I am in no position to acquire another ship. And he has somewhere between a very healthy smirk on his face of a completely sarcastic nature, and somewhere else with, motherfucker, do you know what I've done for you right now to get you a ship? I can't even get me a ship right now.
No, I understand completely what he's saying. Once we move to the Durandal, we may need the extra crew. We're not going to want to run
on some of the crew numbers I've looked at.
Yeah. So if they were here and hired so that somebody else didn't snatch them up, that'd be great.
Yeah.
For us to be able to then transfer them to the Durandal once it's ready, or whatever we decide to call it at the end.
Yes. And Tagerson does agree. Effectively, he does agree with at least looking into figuring out whether or not they can be hired, because he's obviously not aware of their current job situation. Because even though they are part of Barrier Aerospace, they may be already well on their way to new employment. So they may not even be on the market, as it were. And then also, assuming they can be brought into Tankerson and Company, where exactly they'll go from there.
Yep.
Okay.
That's fine.
Was there anything else for the scene? Because Tanker said he would be more than happy to continue sitting there puffing on a cigar and sipping at the 3 bottles of beer he grabbed out of the refrigerator.
No. I think that's it.
Okay. On that note, we have a few administrative type things to do that don't necessarily require in-character sorts of things. First, let's check in with Mr. Wiggles, Agent Wiggles, the player of Mr. Wyatt, and see what kinds of speculative trade we're looking at here.
So Wyatt's pulling up $730,000 to go in on speculative trade. Who else is going to join me in this brave venture of give me
Wyatt
all
is
your
putting
money?
in $750,000, is what I'm hearing. Did I hear that right?
Yep.
That is
Ooh.
phenomenal. What are you going to spend all that money on? Oh,
Booze and
let me back
liquors,
up. I
but
apologize. What other monies are going into this pot?
yeah. Go inside this. There's one for buying advanced vehicles.
Ooh.
And that figure is the total amount, not just what you're donating. That's the total that we need.
No,
No,
that's what I'm
what
putting
he's.
up into it. The maximum we can purchase advanced vehicles is 4.4 million.
Yeah, we don't have anyone close to that. I mean, other crew has money too. I don't know how many of them.
Yes, but I
You know,
want to
or-
point out once more that Tankerson was very, let's just say, not explicit, but definitely was like very much suggesting that you don't touch that unless absolutely necessary.
Well, he told me at the meeting that we had not to touch the ship's money, the
Yes.
iron.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that we should use our own money.
Correct. Okay, maybe
For
I
our
misunderstood
speculative
what you
stuff.
just said. I apologize.
Okay. No,
Yeah.
I'm talking about for our speculative trading. Yeah. There's other crew members that also got the $1 million, dollars. So
I will tell you right
there-
now that
or Libre,
somewhere between gift shop purchases and Hellwig putting down the hammer of God, that Aiello and Spearman have maybe 10 or 20 grand at the very most available. All of their other money has either been spent or is currently locked away from them
good.
in various investments of some sort to get them passive income over the next 20 years.
Dear
Unless
Lord.
Hellwig says he's got a better idea than that.
Oh no! We went and talked to a lawyer with them, and they have a trust fund that they're going to get a monthly allotment of X
There you
amount of
go.
dollars.
An like a $2,000 or 2,000 Libra stipend every month from their
Yeah.
main trust account, which is probably also being fed by some sort of passive income.
Oh, yep.
Just interest on other money. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'll
basically.
go for 20K.
So should we offer an incentive to the people that are putting money in the pot to buy the speculative cargo? When it comes time to divvy it all up at the end, should those people get a certain number of percentage points more because they're the ones that put the money up, and that might entice other people to put money up?
I want to point out before you guys hash too much more of that out, for clarity's sake, if nothing else, let's just take 100 Libra profit. 35 goes to Tankerson. The remaining 65 is divvied up however you guys see fit amongst you and your NPCs. And if your NPCs feel like they're not getting their fair share, they will no longer be your NPCs. They'll become mine. That may have sounded a little assholey, and I apologize. I just like making jokes at people's expense. That sounded horrible. That's probably true, though.
That's why I think we should incentivize.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's a great idea.
Who's giving money, because then they feel actionable. They feel like they're doing something. They're earning money, because of their choices and all that kind of stuff, and they'll get a little more than they would if they had just been passive in the background. And if you want to just be passive in the background, that's great. Do that.
I think
You'll still get your cut.
My personal opinion, and you can take this or not, obviously, but my personal opinion, if I was looking at this in a real world situation, I think there would be some sort of, I guess, a cap in order to keep some people from being able to play favorites or something like that. Does that make sense to you guys? Like, don't like, nobody would be allowed, or it'd be highly recommended that nobody gives more than, let's say, 100,000 for argument's sake.
Right.
In order to keep from having somebody later on being butthurt because their return on this investment was so small compared to somebody else's. But never mind the fact that that's exactly how that works. If you put more in, you get more out. But some people can still end up being butthurt.
I mean, and there's still a risk. What happen? What if something happens to the ship and we lose cargo or lose the ship or whatever? Those people are out that money. Period. So there is a risk involved, and it may be that by the time we get somewhere 2 weeks later, the market's changed there, and we can't sell it for what we thought we were going to be able to sell it for previously, and that kind of stuff. So, there's definitely risk. So risk should come with some amount of reward. So I think the when we divvy it up at the end, whoever gave money, and I think capping it's good because if we show them, hey, our cargo bay's half empty because only 5 people put into the pot this time, that might incentivize people to put money in the pot and kind of share that, and then we all are back on equal footing. But we can't tell them you're going to have to give us 100,000 livre because we're buying cargo. That just won't fly.
Yeah, obviously, up to, if you do a cap, up to the cap is entirely optional. And in fact, what you could do, arguably, is if it is 100K, then there's your nice round flat 100% share sort of deal where for every 100K received, you get a certain percentage based on the initial amount you put in up to 100K. I'm sure somewhere along the way the math works, but not the way I'm explaining it.
Yeah. But we have 18 right now in our crew? Is it? Or no, it's not that many. How many is it?
No, you have let me double check.
I had a list the other day.
I have a spreadsheet that I may or may not have shared with you guys, but let me open it up really quick.
And you said the total fee to fill the cargo with what you found was 4-point-something million?
Yeah.
If you bought all the advanced vehicles
that high.
That would fit in our ship, yeah.
All right, so this is what I have on my list, not including the 3 PCs. We have Paul Gray, Jarvis Tillman, Marshall Tran, Mrs. Wyatt, Kirsty Blaine, Carl Spearman, Buford Aiello. So that is, assuming we didn't miss anybody. 1, 2,
well,
3,
Aiello and
4.
Spearman don't count for this because their money's tied up.
Well, they can contribute, and they arguably they could pull some extra monies out for investment opportunities like this.
If I will leave
the adjudication of that to their handler, Mr. Hellwig. The NPCs we are looking at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 7 NPCs for your crew, so 10 total. For your team, including the PCs.
So unless we're all going to pony up, 4.5 or 450K, right? To make times 10 would be the amount that we would need to purchase that cargo.
I'm going to tell you right now, some of the NPCs will not give up that much money. That's almost half of what they were giving.
Yeah. So, I mean, Hellwig, being the studious, saver, German type background person he is not going to, but he is definitely going to.
Were you trying to find a more clean, polite way to say I'm a stingy old fuck?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Just checking.
Yes. Yeah.
Employee investment club.
Right. Right. All I'm saying is that if you get 3 more people to come in and they bring 3 more people.
God. No. We're not doing multi-level pyramid bullshit.
Okay. What if we buy little AI images and we put that on the ship and they can buy the AI images on our ship?
I feel like this is just a Bitcoin thing.
So anyhow, I think between us and between me and Blaine sitting the other 2 down and explaining the risks, the pros, and just saying it's your option, I'll let you sign over X amount of dollars or X amount of lira into this, but don't put it all in. But I will front 14. Let me see, what do I have? I will give
before you start counting numbers or spitting out numbers, I will point out that Blaine is quite comfortable with giving up the full 100,000, assuming you guys do the 100,000 cap. But I think she would be okay with giving up a tenth of what she's earned. Like, I feel like that's a fairly safe number, other than the fact that it equates to 100 grand. But Blaine will be okay with giving up 100 grand, and once she announces that, Spearman and Aiello, they will both. They're not very good at crunching numbers in their head. They need paper and chalk to figure it out, but they eventually come up with Mr. Hellwig, if you allow us to have access to our money, and they're a little salty about it, but they get it. But they definitely ride that line of, I fucking hate you for this, but I need your permission. But both feel like if they contribute 100 grand a piece, that they feel like that's a fair commitment, especially given that not just you, but everybody more or less is looking out for them, or that, for the good of the team. It's a team thing. They want to be seen as team players.
Yeah.
Your
Yeah.
example is motivating them in that direction as well, and they're trying to make money so that they can go buy more gift shop shit.
Right.
Hell, like, can you insinuate that if they don't give me money, I'll like them less? Can you just like
But the question is, if they do give money, will you like them more?
No.
no?
They're just going to earn more money. So, hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
that's their payout right there.
I guess. I mean, I guess I'll pay out. I don't know if 100,000 is gonna. Yeah, I'll do the minimum of 100,000.
The minimum. You mean the maximum?
Or the maximum? Yeah, no.
Well, I say the maximum. It's your guys' call how you want to do that.
Yeah.
So that only get us to $1 million. Is there a different cargo that would make us more money with only $1 million of capital, or are those vehicles still the best thing?
I'm very confident in the cargo I picked.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'll give them 100,000. I'll say in for a penny and
I believe what he was trying to say for the viewers and those watching the YouTube, that what he tried to say there before his connection shat on him was in for a penny, in for a pound.
That is correct. That is correct. So, yep. So I'll put in for that, and I'll let them sign away a check for IL
You'll
experiment.
Authorize them to authorize the transfer of funds over to the main account.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll do the same.
That sounds like 500 grand right there.
Yeah.
And so, once we have, like, I don't know, we can kind of figure out who's going to be the most dodgy about this. And we go to them last after we've gotten everybody else signed up. So we just keep going and presenting this to the whole crew.
Well,
and tell them,
if you want to do that, there is this convention in this game. It's often joked about, in fact, that there are role-playing games, that's ROLE, and there are role-playing games where you ROLL. So why don't we do the double L and just pick one or two people and assume maybe they were a little bit more hesitant than others, and let's make some sort of rolling happen to convince them that maybe giving up 100 grand is not a bad idea, because it gives us more capital to make more profit later.
Yep.
So please.
So you determine how many NPCs need that.
Let's just say
that push.
Let's just say 2 of them. Let's say, well, you've already got 3 of them, so that's like half your crew. Let's say Tillman is a little hesitant to give up a 10th of his earnings from the Durandal escapades. He would rather give up only 50, to be honest, and he's not sure if he wants to give up that much.
And to be perfectly honest with you, I would look at him and say, I don't think you're wrong, and I think anybody that's going to pressure you to do otherwise is wrong. So you donate what you want to.
Charles, I want you to roll whatever you want as a skill, insofar as
piloting.
No. I'm thinking
no.
I don't have the skills directly in front of me. But let's something along the lines of like manipulation, persuasion.
I got a deception. Deception, or I can do carouse.
You know what? If you want to deceive him by giving him the soft of no, don't pay. Listen, if all you want to do is 50, do it. But you're trying to do reverse psychology. By all means, give yourself an additional +1 on that, though.
Yeah, I will. Okay, so I'll do that with my social's a flat 0, my deception's a +3, so that'd be a +4 on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which would make that 12.
You give him that whole bit of, listen, it's your money. We don't want you to feel like you're being pressured. Listen, if all you want to do is 50K, hell, if all you want to do is 10K, do 10K, do 50K, whatever it is, it's fine. And over the course of 20 minutes of conversation, not all of it is specifically about how much he's going to contribute, but ultimately over 20 minutes of various topics, he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm in. You know what? Fuck Flex, especially Flex. But fuck it, I'm in. 100 grand. What's the worst that's gonna happen? I'm out 100 grand. I still have, I don't know, 879,000 other Libra to play with. Fuck it, let's go.
Exactly. If you have it invested other ways, you'll be making cash other ways, and you'll probably be able to
Yeah.
recover this.
Yeah. So you can go ahead, because you rolled effectively a 12. You can go ahead and throw Tillman down for the full 100 grand, and that leaves you with Gray, who I feel like Gray is already pretty well committed to 100 grand. He's kind of a team player, has been for a while, especially with Elwig and the whole geek stick and trying to crack the code and all that. And then otherwise that leaves it with Mrs. Wyatt, and I will let Wiggles figure out what Mrs. Wyatt's contribution is going to be. Although I feel like I already know the answer.
Well, so as a player, I don't really like. It's like, oh, she'll also go in for $700,000.
No, but I feel like if you, again, playing with the idea again, and I want to point out the idea of a cap was just a suggestion, and it definitely doesn't have to be 100 grand. But yes, also like a husband-wife doubling down on a single investment doesn't sound financially wise to me. Now, I will also caveat that with I am not by any stretch of the imagination a financial advisor. One would argue I'm not very good with my money as it is. But $1.5 million between the two of you on a single investment out of the 2 million combined that you guys have, doesn't that seem smart to me? But again, that's your call.
She'll go in there at 100K.
Okay. And then now is George remaining at the 750,000?
Oh yeah, George believes in himself.
George is well, okay, that's fair. George's like, yeah, no, I got this shit. I'm going not just in, but all fucking in. Okay. The next, let me get to the right freaking thing here. The next topic, as Wiggles continues playing Deal or No Deal with the dice and himself. And looking at the time, I feel like now is actually probably a good time to wrap for the night. And then when we return next week, are we good for next week, first off? Everybody good?
Yep.
I think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So when we return next week, we will look at passengers, whether or not you do it, and if so, what your results are. We will look at getting the cargo loaded onto the Thorez, pre-flight type shit, and then your actual transit to your next stop, which will be Kilimanjaro. Which now takes us to outro type stuff. Charles, we'll start with you because that's what we always do. Feedback for tonight and any outgoing thoughts for the evening, please.
Outgoing thoughts are, I really hate the X and the Infinity. Give me things today.
I'm catching every other word. You're gonna have to say that again. Hopefully your connection holds.
Yeah, that basically the person that manages my connection. I don't envy that company, and it begins with an X and Infinity.
Yes, I got you. And I also have that same company, so it's a wonder I haven't had the same problems.
Yeah. But I think this was kind of fun. I don't, without knowing the cards going on, and I don't really watch the stream because that things would throw my connection off. So I'll say this. I'm going to take a couple of our NPCs at face value of what they said, but I'm still going to play it as if they're shady. So.
No, absolutely. I feel like that makes perfect sense, especially for your character who comes from that investigation style background. Until you're proven otherwise, these motherfuckers could very well be some very dirty shitheads, and why should I take them at face value until I know that I can take them at face value? And that makes perfect sense to me.
Yep. So, other than that, I'm good.
All right. Wiggles, I know you're hip deep in trade deals, but I would appreciate some feedback for tonight and any outgoing thoughts you might have.
Maybe my fellow PCs will now be more on board with fucking over our Patreon and where I start making some real money on the side.
I again, I caught roughly half of what he just
Oh,
said. I don't know if it's me or him.
is this better? Sorry,
Yes,
my headphones
yes,
are a little cockeyed.
yes. Thank you. That
Wow,
is a lot better.
that mic is so sensitive. Now me my companions be more willing to do some shady stuff to squeeze out as much money as possible from our patron now.
Knowing that he openly admitted to being part of what he claims is not exactly a clandestine organization, but let's be honest. Is there any shadowy organization that is not as shadowy as they profess? Or, no, I said that wrong, but I think you know what I meant. Yeah, and so meanwhile, Wyatt is like, nope, I am gonna fucking rake the coals over this guy and get every drop of cash I can out of him while I can.
Yeah, that seems good. That seems good to me.
Fair enough. Anything else?
Not excited working for Flex again.
I want to be clear. I've never. Well, no. Let me rephrase. I think my intention was to convey the idea that sometimes y'all's goals and Flex's goals may occasionally line up, and therefore everybody could benefit. Not that you would be working for them specifically on any scale, whether individual tasking or forever. If that has been misconveyed or misconstrued, I apologize. However, your characters having that thought of, fuck, here I am, basically working for Flex again, I feel like that actually adds a little bit to the story. So if you feel like your character is going to feel that way, by all means, run with it. And, inception yourself, I guess. I don't know.
We're gonna get tattoos that say that on our arms right there.
What, inception yourself?
No, fuck Flex.
Or I was gonna say, that was my next suggestion. Was like, oh, you meant fuck Flex? Anything else, Mr. Wiggles?
No, that's good. That's all.
Okay. Wiggles, I will say, when you have the time, when you have figured out how the numbers best line up to be beneficial for everybody, please just throw it on like a Word doc or something and throw it into the group chat, please. What you guys are purchasing and how much money is left over.
Well, just the vehicles, if we sell it at base price and not above base price, after Tankerson's take divided by 10, that's 21,060 livres.
Yeah, it's profit.
And then
No. He only takes profit.
Yeah, 35% of whatever profit is made.
No, that's what I did. So
okay.
30. If you sell these at 180 and there's only 9 tons of it, that's 36,000 livres. So you take out his 30.
35.
Wait a minute.
It'd be in the neighborhood of about 36,000. 1/3 of that is about
36. 1, 2, 3 times 9.
Yeah, so you guys get roughly 24, give or take some small math errors.
Yeah. So the total profit's 324. And if you multiply that by 0.65, which would be how much we get to keep, that's 210, 600. And if you divide that by 10, if everybody's getting an equal share, then it's just over 21,000 for the vehicle part of that.
That's 21,000. Okay. All right. That makes sense. Those numbers add up. Speaking of numbers, Thurgar, give me some feedback, my friend, and give me some outgoing, ending the stream thoughts for me.
All right. So I think everything we did tonight was very important for advancing the story and everything else. I don't have a problem that, we didn't get out and mix it up with anybody or anything like that. I think what we did was great.
We progressed 24 hours. That was it.
Yeah. Well, whatever. We got a lot done for dang sure. And we are ready to go get in a ship and leave, starting the next session pretty much, unless you throw us a French.
I thought you said French, not a wrench.
No.
French, oui.
Which
is actually really funny because in thinking about tonight's prep, or what I had put together for tonight, I definitely had, once again, concerns that I didn't have enough content. And yet here we are, not even going through, all of the content I did have. I was like, well, I could always just throw a customs officer at them on their way out or some other dumb shit, And of course, it's going to be the French. Because why? Because they've picked a fight with the French without realizing that they may have picked a fight with the French.
We returned all of their crew members.
Yeah, but you
From
didn't.
the Lost
But
Durandal.
I'm sure you've seen the show, the wonderful military science fiction documentary, The Expanse, right?
Mm-hmm. Oh, I know about
And then
that.
there was
Yeah.
a certain point in time when a certain group of humans that were born and raised on a certain red planet weren't particularly
Mhm.
happy about a very small ship not being returned to their authorities.
Oh, we tried to return it. They didn't want to pay the fee, so they let us keep it.
No. What you did was you ran away from one of their warships.
Oh yeah, screw that. They didn't have any business coming on board our ship.
Anyway, I'm currently being a bit of a clown. So please, Thurgar, any other feedback and or closeout thoughts, please.
No, that's it. I'm glad we're back in the position where we can make a little money doing what we do. And
As if
um,
a million fucking Libra wasn't enough for you. That's fine,
no,
sir.
we needed 5 apiece. So we could afford to buy all this cargo. Yeah, so our input would be 1 million instead of 100,000 each. Then we'd have 10 million to work with.
Well, you know, it's a cycle. It's a process. You got to start somewhere
Yeah.
to get somewhere.
So I'm just looking forward to advancing the timeline a little bit. If this is what it takes, this is what it takes. It's keeping us out of an all-out war and another arm, so I'm good with that too. You know, I imagine at some point we wait long enough, it's going to spill out over here anyway. So
I'm telling you, and I said this in the beginning, not in the beginning, but I said this very early on. There are 2 major storylines, my friend, and both of them are getting poised like a cobra getting ready to strike.
Yep.
Oh, I have ideas for the next handful of episodes. It's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. You got anything else before I stop running my mouth and start talking about how we're getting out of here?
That's it. I just want this cargo run to go quick and without problems because we are not equipped to
have you
handle any
ever
problems.
played a role-playing game before? Nothing
Nope.
is ever as easy as it first seems. Come
Oh,
on, man.
Yep, I know.
But wouldn't it be a funny thing if that's all that you did was you fly to the next system, you sold some shit, you made a profit, you came home.
I'd be laughing all the way to the bank.
All right, my friends, that is it for tonight. We're gonna get out of here. I hope you enjoyed the show. I definitely enjoyed it, and I want to thank my players for helping me bring this story to the table and to the internet. That sounds a little corny, but I really do mean it. I definitely have been making a lot of corny jokes and just dumb references. Yeah, that's what the crew of the Nostromo thought. God, another alien reference. It's not like I don't already have a whole show that just premiered last night devoted to that universe. I am, of course, referencing in a very haphazard way all along the frontier, an alien RPG campaign that did just launch last night with myself, Kane DeMail, Rodance, and Luke Labs, some players from my community. We started our show last night. It is currently viewable on YouTube, youtube.com/@OmarKrieg. You can find it there. If you find this video on YouTube, you can definitely find that one as well. So take a look. Hope you enjoy it. If you enjoyed tonight's episode and you're not already there, 1, what are you doing? And 2, how much longer do I have to wait for you to show up in my Discord? I'm being an ass again. Yeah, if you do enjoy what we have, come on down and join the community. Help us make more. That's what it's all about.
And if you do show up, remember to bring 2 of your friends and 2 of their friends.
The multi-level never stops.
I was about to say, wait, we got to pyramid it. You know, the first person's supposed to be 3 people. And,
we're not doing pyramid schemes. It's a ziggurat. I don't know if I even said that right, but we're doing ziggurats. It's squares that progressively get smaller the higher you go.
Right.
At any rate, that is it, and this is the last content we have planned for this week, I believe. We do have. Let me think for a second. There is going to be a Blood Bowl match this weekend, apparently. For those that might be interested in the Blood Bowl thing that I'm a part of. But on Sunday, I will be doing Imperium Maledictum on AP Gaming Reel and a couple other people there. Monday will be the return of Solasta. Tuesday, episode 2 of the new Along the Frontier Alien RPG campaign. And of course, next Wednesday, right back here, exploring the French arm and seeing how much profit we can squeeze out of the Frenchies and the Britishies and the othersies. At any rate, I'm starting to ramble, so let's get out of here. Thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. Make sure you guys are staying safe out there. This world is a crazy dark place, so make sure you're doing what you got to do to take care of you and yours. And as for me and mine, we're out of here, my friends. Enjoy yourselves. We'll see you next time.